Welcome to the East End of London, the Krays' old stamping ground. Today we're going to take you around the East End of London with one of the Krays' best known friends, Eric Mason. Eric knew the Kray twins from being a child, knew them through their heyday in the 60s and knew them in prison. Today we're going to walk around the old East End and Eric's going to explain to you what the real Kray twins were really all about. Welcome to the Kray Twins Walk. This is a walk with Eric Mason, friend of the Krays for almost 50 years, and Steve Wraith, a Geordie connection. We're going to take you around the East End of London today and show you the heart of the Krays, London.
Stockings on over there on your own, Charles.
It's 25 grand in the place, I'm worried about. I might sell the truck. I've had 2 trucks 5 years.
To go back though to find out exactly where I thought it was coming from. I put it down there, take it out. Box in the bed. Yeah, it's a box in the bed.
How you want me sitting there? Yeah. Yeah. The Kray brothers used to come in the shop like 20, 30 years ago, like, you know what I mean? This was one of their regulars, their local. You know what I mean? Action!
Welcome to the East End of London for the Krays, Geordie connection and Eric Mason's walk. I'm going to take you around some of the major buildings, streets of East End of London where the Krays once ruled with a fist of iron. We're going to walk down now towards Whitechapel with Eric and a lot of his friends and family from up and down the country, and take in a few of the sights and pick Eric's brains as to what the Krays were really like, what the places and cafes and bars were like that they used to associate themselves with, what the people were like that they knew, and just basically taking the East End in general. There behind us. Just something different again, make the start of it again.
Yeah, that's nice. I'll start on there and pan down. We're going, running.
Hi, my name is Steve Wraith and I'm the Krays Geordie Connection. Today we're in the East End of London with former gangster Eric Mason, a very good friend of the Krays. We're going to take a tour around the East End of London. We're going to look out for a lot of the old sites, a lot of the Krays old haunts. We're going to meet up with a lot of the Krays old friends and associates and find out what the Krays were really like. Why don't you join us now for the tour of the East End, the Kray Twins Walk. Now, which is coming towards Whitechapel. All right.
And action.
We're now walking down Mile End Road. We're coming towards Whitechapel. I'm now going to catch up with Eric and we're going to talk about Eric Street. Aptly named, not after Eric Mason, but basically Eric Street is where the Krays' beginnings are. It's where the first club, the first snooker hall was actually situated. And although the old building's not there now, Eric's got a lot of memories about that particular site. Just get a shot of everyone walking down.
Yeah.
Regency, yes, this is the Regency. Right, this is Steve Wraith with Eric Mason outside the former site of the Regency Club. Eric, the Regency Club, the Kray Twins Club, can you give us a bit of detail about what it was like?
They never really owned the place. It become their place to meet. And the brothers that ran the place, the Regency, it was so close to everybody. Excuse me. Oh, bloody hell. Now, sorry about that, but they used to keep all their guns and all that arms in the street round the corner in Blonde Carroll's house,
Yeah.
which is 50 yards from us where we are outside the Regency. So
What was the deco like and what was the atmosphere like in the club?
typical. The club was quite a good club, and they had a gaming room downstairs. There was, there was gambling, and the ground floor. It was like very popular. Everybody would go down there and meet. It was the meeting place of the twins, and most of them. Jack the Hat, as a matter of fact, used to come in there quite often. You know what I mean? And he was very well respected in them days. That's long before they done him in. You know what I mean?
Was it one of their first clubs, or was this one of the clubs at the Pinnacle?
They never really owned it. But
Did they commandeer it then?
the fact is, I think there was a deal went on to bring people in, and they used to draw a few quid from the people that owned the place. I mean, so I think you can say that it was just everybody assumed it was their club, and that's before they went down to Mayfair and started working in the West End and things like that, you know what I mean? But
Any funny stories from the actual club itself? Can you
Yeah.
remember any incidents
Well,
that
I
happened there?
can. One's a bit of a rude story, where Ronnie shot his cock
Right.
in the carsy because he thought he was being flashy, like, you know. And Ronnie actually shot the guy's cock in the carsy. And he said, "Are you trying to take the piss out of me?" And that was a true story. I know that. I was in the place when it happened. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Any more memories about this, Harry?
Well, it was just a place that I enjoyed. The people that had the place. Their names would come to me in a minute, and there was 2 or 3 brothers run the place. You know what I mean? And they were very close to the twins.
Was it the Barry brothers?
Barrys, that's it.
Barrys.
Barrys, yeah. Yeah.
What were the Barrys like?
They was okay, nice people. I liked them. They was entertainers and they were involved in the boxing game. They was, they was pretty. Everybody liked them. They got on very well with people.
Was the Regency the club where Jack the Hat was taken with the Lambrianos before that fateful night?
Yeah, that's right. That same night, and it was quite easy for them to get Jack pissed then and walk him round so that he never knew what he was walking into. You know what I mean? You'll have to ask Chrissy Lambriano, because Tony Lambriano's not alive now, but he was certainly one of them people.
So from here, where's Blonde Carol's? Where was Blonde Carol's house?
Right round the corner from the Regency.
Which direction?
As you come out, turn right, first right, and it was on the left-hand side.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that'll do. Yeah.
Oh, we're sorry.
Yeah, too busy faggots. Roller skaters, isn't that? That's right, faggots.
And Crocodile Dundee over
This is what we're doing.
All right, action.
Steve Wraith, Eric Mason, talking about childhood in the East End. Eric, your childhood memories of the East End. What was it like growing up as a child in
Well,
East End London?
I wasn't, first of all, during the war, when the war started in '39, I was sent away to an approved school, so I came back. The first time I came, I met the Kray twins and people like that. They were all, I was like a senior teenager and they were junior. I'm a couple of years older than them, you know. So we used to always go to the local boxing clubs and things like that, you know what I mean? And sometimes we'd venture up to the West End where Jack Solomon's run the gyms and things like that. So it was like all the East End boys, all the known ones, all got, you know, were like into the boxing game and all that, you know. And the East End was manna for blokes like us, because the shops would be open, would be all stealing and things like that, you know what I mean? So that's how we got ourselves in little troubles and all that. And the twins never ever got nicked. The local church bloke liked the twins and kept them out of trouble and things like that, you know what I mean? So it wasn't till later in life, till we got up into our late teens or early 20s, you know, that we'd become very close friends. And they had no clubs or nothing. In actual fact, the first place I knew the twins was when they had the club in there, the snooker in there, Eric Street, and they had a bit of aggro, and they've asked me to come down and help them, because there was a little firm down here in them days, the Watney Street mob. They had trouble with them, and I come and made one with them, you know what I mean? And so from then on, we always had that bit of respect for each other, you know what I mean? And so as a consequence, I become part of what they started calling the firm, you know. And so as a consequence, we would, anything they got involved in, I was putting, and if it was getting a few quid, I was getting a few quid, we'd share it between us.
Did you see it as a two-way relationship early days, Eric? Did you see it as a... Did you ever feel as if they were using you, or did you feel as if you were using them as much as they were using you?
I think the second thing is right. I think we all knew we could go and get a few quid, and you know, before all of that gun raid. I mean, I saw local pictures recently about the Richardsons, how they were really into business, and that was them. But the twins never thought of anything. They thought, oh, we'll open a club, we'll open this, open something, just to make money. You know what I mean? There was, and if they got a few quid, I'd get a few quid. You know what I mean? And yeah, we all had a lot of respect for each other. You know what I mean?
Getting back to your youth, were you ever frightened of anything, Eric? You know, you lived through war, you know, England at war.
No.
Were you ever afraid as a youngster?
No, in actual fact, I used to be happy. I'd say, oh, when the bombs come down, I'd say, oh, I'm going out. You know, I'll find a few shops open, laying open, you know. And I'd say, my grandmother used to say, don't forget, bring some tobacco back for your grandfather and things like that, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that was the kind of life you had. There was no, you didn't think you was doing anything naughty, bad, you know what I mean?
What's the best memory about your childhood?
Well, I had some dreadful times because I went into approved schools, and the brothers that run the St Vincent's School, all I feel in them days was the violence, the beatings, the whips. It was unbelievable, and you had to retaliate. And I think I become, long before I got into my 20s, I become fearless of anybody. I just knew that it was going to come on me, so I'd try and get one in first.
Do you think that you know, living in war-torn Britain and going to the approved school help form you into what people would say was a career criminal?
It was, although as I've got older and got, you know, I've learned to, you know, I do respect people older than myself. Always respected older people. I've never been a bully. I hated bullies, and that was it. I've always been a man that fought my side. And
what did you think of Jack Spott and Billy Hill? There's a lot mentioned about them in the Krays books, about how the influential they were in their upbringing.
We all met them at about the same time, and they was living the life of Riley. They were very wealthy. They had, like Billy Hill was a tea leaf, a big time tea leaf, and all the little scoundrels would get a few quid and behave themselves. Spot was a typical Jewish entrepreneur. He knew how to graft, and you know, business, and all his firm around him were Jewish boys. They all hated the Germans and all that kind of stuff, you know, because of the things that went on during the Second World War, and as a consequence, they felt that they had to do something about it, you know what I mean? And I found them. They never took liberties or anything like that. They were proper people, you know what I mean? And they see me do things in bars with people, and they'd say, well done, son. You know, he was a bully. I'm glad you'd done that. They would respect me for that.
One last question on your childhood. Who were your heroes? Who influenced you as a child?
I don't know, really. I can't think of anybody. I mean, I admired my family, my brothers, and all that. But although my Fred, he was like, he still is well respected, you know. But he was always there for me and all that. And I took the blame for little things that he used to do, and I thought that was the right thing to do, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think when I think back, I've got to put my brother, the one that was the third one. We had an older brother, and he was a bit of a grumpy sod, and you know, whereas Fred would be with you, you know, all the time. He's still alive, and I'm pleased to say. You know.
The guys get together. Phil's about an hour away, so Phil's coming out.
All right, nice one.
Wishes on his way.
Did you find that safe in that canal? We didn't ask you about that.
Freddie got me.
Oh, did he? All right.
We're doing childhood memories. Last question. Who were your heroes? And that was childhood.
Oh, right, Fred. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a nice little trip.
Oh, yeah.
No, over there.
Yeah, sure.
I'll ask you.
What do you want to ask me, sir?
I'll ask you just what you think about Eric. Are you ready to spook? Have you already spooked?
I haven't read the book. I've
No,
seen
you just
the
know who he is,
documentary,
right?
yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Steve Wraith with Eric Mason on Mile End Road. You just stopped us in the street there, Eric Mason. You've read about him or you've seen him on television.
I just
what
heard
do you
down
think?
the road that you guys were coming down to make a documentary.
Yeah.
And I've read a lot and seen a lot of documentaries on TV. So I mean, there's a lot of legends around it, and it's great to meet them.
Yeah, it's great to meet you.
What do you think about crime today compared to crime in the 60s? Obviously, you weren't around in the 60s. What do you think? Do you think the streets would be a safer place with the Kray twins around here, or not?
From what I've heard and seen, it's a lot safer. Not a lot safer. It's like, I don't know, explain it, but it's a lot more safer around here now.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot more respect for each other.
Yeah. Probably was a lot different back then.
Absolutely, yeah. Things you read in the press today about the jobs and one thing and another. I mean, it even turns my head. Like, I can't believe it, you know what I mean, how they get away with it. But we had to suffer for anything we did, but we never did that kind of thing.
So you was the bodyguard of...
No, we grew up together, you know what I mean? We were always together with each other. We had a lot.
Do you feel like he's meeting a hero today?
Oh, the East End's legends, ain't they? They've built a bit of East End in the, they're part of history around here. And I'm only from down the road, so it's like nice to meet someone, that's built a bit of history around here.
Brilliant. We're going to Blind Beggar for 5 o'clock, 5:30. You want to come and join me for a drink? There's going to be a few other faces in there. You definitely got a card, Chris.
Have you ever taken a snapshot with those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
You should come in there sometime, man. Just the dry cleaners over there. It's not far from there. Just run into the tube station.
Dry cleaners. Right, next time I come down, I'll bring a fuse.
Sorry, can you go on a bit closer? A little bit more.
Brainwash. Through the streets of the East End now. 3, 2, 1. Steve Wraith and Eric Mason walking through, reminiscing about how the East End's changed.
It's unbelievable.
Eric, what's it like now walking through the East End compared to the 1960s?
There's no comparison whatsoever. Absolutely, just looking at the area, and I mean it's people that a lot of people, we don't speak the same language, but there's a lot of respect here that I don't see up the north of England with young people and elderly people. They all seem to be quite decent blokes around here, and you can say, chat, they'll come over and ask you, what are you doing and all that kind of stuff. That couldn't happen. That couldn't happen in the old days because everybody knew everybody knew who it was that they, you know, who they were talking about and this, that and the other, and it's one of those things, you know what I mean?
Do you think it's changed for the better then?
Oh yeah, I do think so. I think it's one thing that changed for the better is the respect that people have with each other in the East End, which has been a thing. I mean, in the old days in the East End, people respected most people because they were frightened of them. But these days it seems when I walk through the East End, people I speak to and they speak to me. I find them decent kind of people, you know what I mean? It is a different world.
I'll try and get some more of that in the pub. We'll ask him the same question again when we go to the pub later on tonight. But if we get any...
So the dying screams. The cat.
The old booze. Yeah.
Take one at the other end so that Reggie and Ronnie are behind me. Yep. And that. Get them two in. That go in the live book.
5 minutes.
How does it feel to be
Aye.
back in there, Blind Beggar?
Yeah. I get the girl to take a still of me there in that camera.
Jeff. Jeff. Get him to bring that. Right? Get him to girl to bring that camera down and get still there. All right.
Sorry? Yeah. Don't actually let them ask you. There's going to be a lot of people. Get away from the road. Right. Got this, Chris?
Action.
Right, we're now going to take a walk up to Vallance Road, which is where the Kray twins lived in the East End of London. Eric's going to reminisce about Vallance Road, the house where the Krays lived, and his time that he spent in the East End of London. Three, two, one. Steve Wraith and Eric Mason outside the Grave Morris pub. Eric, what's the significance of the Grave Morris pub in the Kray twin story?
This is where we used this pub more than the Blind Beggars. And the Blind Beggars became notorious because Ronnie Kray shot Cornell. And we used to meet in here, the Grave Morris. All the firm used to meet in the Grave Morris every night. And the night that Cornell got shot, I had to meet a girlfriend who I had in the Pig Owl in London. So I left them in there and went in the car to pick the girlfriend up in the Pig Owl. And as I come out with her, it came on the news that a man had been shot in the Blind Beggars. So she said, "Oh, that's near where we have a drink." I said, "Yeah, but it can't be them because I just left them in the Grave Morris, and that's the Blind Beggars." So then later on, when we got back to her place, we put the news on, watching the news, and it turned out that the guy that got shot had been killed in the Grave Morris. They felt it was a local gang warfare. And the next thing is, my phone rang and Reggie phoned me and said, "Eric, do me a favour, will you go down to the safe house?" And that was down in Lee Bridge Road, Walthamstow. So he said, "The Colonel's waiting." That meant that Ronnie, so I knew then that Ronnie was involved in that. So I went down there that night, and Ronnie looked out of the window, showed out, and he lifted up a bottle of gin because he knew I drank gin and tonic. And I went up inside, and Ronnie was there, and he was just as if he said, "Oh, I've done that Cornell, and sit down, have a drink and all that." And I said, "Ronnie, everybody's on the news." "Oh no, nobody knows. Don't worry, nothing's." And that was it.
Spot on. That's good. Is that the original song?
Yeah, it was totally different inside. Yeah.
We're on my way up to Vallance Road now, obviously the home of the Kray twins. The actual house isn't there anymore. It isn't actually on the site. The way you can tell that where the house actually was is by the railway line. You can see the railway bridge. So we're going to walk up there now, and
We'll see that bit.
we're going to walk up there now, and Eric's going to tell us what Vallance Road and the house was really like. Right, it's difficult. Like, you need somebody. Hi. Right.
Me and Ronnie used to come down and get all our clothes here, and never charged us for anything. And he used to say, I'll say, I'm going home to change. He'd say, don't come down, I'll show you the shop in a minute, it's just along here. And Ronnie used to be immaculate. I'd get 3 or 4 ties off the guy every day. You know.
Brilliant. And do you want to get this side of Chris? Whichever side Chris is on, you keep on Chris. We need to do a bit. It's just kind of spontaneous, really. Like if Chris turns round, you just watch his back. Just keep it on the side. Three, 2, 1. Steve Wraith, Eric Mason on Vallance Road. At Eric Vallance Road, obviously the street where the Kray twins, the Kray twins family lived. What's your memories of Vallance Road and coming down here?
I was here every day. I'd come
2
up,
seconds to do that bit again. That bus. What's your 3, 2, 1? Steve Wraith, Eric Mason on Vallance Road. Eric, Vallance Road was the home, the street where the Kray twins lived, the Kray twins family lived. What's your memories of Vallance Road?
I was here every day. We must go up far later after we've been in Cheshire Street to go up to Bethnal Green Road. We used to go every morning to the cafe at the top. And we must go up there and have a look, and you'll see, and I'll tell you a few stories about the cafe. We used to meet every morning.
Fucking up against it there.
Like nice one, Adria. It's good, man. I like that. Thank you very much. It's very nice one. Come, give a nice. Come. What? Got that? What? Listen, Adria. Here, Adria.
Lovely.
It's unbelievable, this. So different.
So much of a change, Eric. Changed very much.
Unbelievable. All these trees, there was never no trees.
Just stand up against the rails, Eric. For the house in the back there. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Eric Mason outside Vallance Road 178 with Steve Wraith. Eric, this is the site of where the Kray twins lived.
Yeah.
Memories of the house.
I said, knock on that door. There was 4 or 5 terraced houses. And I used to come here in the morning, knock on the door. Violet Kray used to come home. How's your mum? And hang on, I'll give the boys a call. And I'd walk up to Polite's Cafe on Bethnal Green Road, and we'd all meet there. All the chaps, little Nobby Clark and people like that, turn up every day. You know, good mates. We used to sit there chatting what we're going to do, what's happened last night, and this, that, and the other. Just ordinary stuff, you know what I mean? It was unbelievable. To come back and see it now, it's so unbelievable. There used to be always a line of cars there outside the house. You can't even park a car anywhere. So different now.
It's a homely place to visit.
Very, very homely. I mean, everybody knew each other around here. Families, they knew each other. Everybody knew each other. The Burnses used to live right opposite there. And the boxing game. Hope that wasn't on there.
But did you ever go to any meetings at the house? They're often documented about meetings there.
Every morning.
What was it? What was a normal meeting like?
That thing that portrayed on the film upstairs around the table, that non-existent. All our meetings used to be in the front room, first door. As soon as you walked in, first door in the lounge, sitting there, and there was enough room for about 4 people to sit on the side of our armchairs and lean against the dressing table, and that was it. And Violet used to bring in a cup of tea for everybody and just go, not another word.
What were Violet and Charlie like, old Charlie?
Old Charlie, he just sat in the kitchen, you could hear him coughing there. Actual fact, Ronnie he always had some type of animal, birds and things like that. He had a minor bird that used to copy Charlie's coughing. And I used to think Charlie was still in the kitchen, but he wasn't. He was out getting a few quid. That's how it used to be.
Spot on. First, Eric. Right. Is this actually Cheshire Street then, Eric, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. 3, 2, 1, Steve Wraith and Eric Mason on Cheshire Street. Cheshire Street, and this has got a particularly bad memory for Reggie Kray. This is where that accident actually happened when he was a kid.
Yeah.
We've also, it's got a few other historical buildings on here which are interested in the Kray story. First off, the bats, Eric, what can you tell us about the Cheshire Street bats?
Everybody in this area, everybody used to go for a bath there because nobody had a bath in their house. There was no baths at all. So it would be, everybody knew everybody that came there. And I mean, you'd hear them climbing over the tops and all that. And that's when people first found out that Ronnie was gay by coming to his side.
How did they find that out?
Well, it's a story that I couldn't really tell you, but it became quite common knowledge that he liked boys then. He was climbing over the walls between baths. And in them days, we was only allowed 9 inches of water because during the war, they had made the law that you couldn't have more than 9 inches in your bath, you know what I mean? And they had a line round the bath, and everybody knew. And the guy that used to run the place, who turned the water on, he always let Ronnie have an extra inch or 2 of bath water.
Right, the Repton Boxing Club.
Well, that boxing club, I got to know the Burnses. I've known the family many years. Everybody in this area have boxed for the Burns, have taught so many fighters in this area, and they were well respected. They're still about, and I haven't seen them for years. Lovely people, they were good family, real good family. Never had any aggravation. They did their own thing in this area. They were well respected by everybody.
Did you ever train in there then, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the Krays as boxers? I mean, you know...
They wasn't bad. I mean, Reggie was quite a good boxer, actually. Ronnie was a bit of a... he didn't like mixing it. He didn't like people roughing him up a bit. He'd go a bit daft, you know what I mean? But, you know, he was a bit... Reggie was more the boxer than Ronnie, you know. He was capable. I mean, he had quite a few good fighters over Reggie.
What about Charlie Kray, the elder brother?
Charlie was quite a good boxer. He learnt his boxing in the Navy, I think, you know what I mean? And he was quite a bit, I mean, never made any, did nothing, you know, never won anything, you know what I mean? But Reggie and Ronnie, they both won junior championships and schoolboy championships and things like that, you know. They would, you know, Ronnie was the rough one. Ronnie preferred to fight in the streets than in the gym, you know what I mean?
Did you ever fight on the same bill as the twins?
I fought on the same bill as I fought on the same bill of the twins. And Arthur Howard, who was a great fighter, who used to come over here. And the boy that just died a few weeks ago, we went to his funeral. Laurie O'Leary. He was on the same bill as us. And, you know, Shoreditch Town, or I boxed on the same bill as them.
Did you win your fight, Eric?
Yeah, I did. And the twins got beat. So, yeah. They were good days. And little Nobby Clark used to come down, train here, and he used to train in the back. In the yard, they used to have every bag in the back of Vallance Road. And Nobby used to work out with them both, you know. He was smaller than them, but he was a tough little fella, like, you know. He's still around today. I saw him at Laurie's funeral, you know, it was nice to see him.
The twins also trained at Webb's gym. Where was that? Was that in the East End?
Yeah, that was, yeah, but they went to Lowton. Where I used to train with them was up in like central London, off of Fitzroy Square, Fitzroy Gym.
Where did you used to train with the twins in central London?
In the Fitzroy Gym, yeah. Bill Klein's gym, yeah. And, yeah, it was quite a lot of people who used to train down there. It was a good, very popular gym. That was most of the boys from around here would prefer to go and train up in Bill Klein's gym.
Obviously, you're heavily involved with the Ex-Boxers Association, and you're also good friends with Ricky Hatton. Tell us a little bit about Ricky Hatton.
I think, well, Ricky Hatton is, I've considered an absolute gentleman. We all know his prowess. He's a great fighter. I saw a world champion in him 2 or 3 years before he won his world title. I've met all his family. They're a lovely family. I think they're perfect. You know, I'm talking about the whole, every one of the Hattons are perfect, ladies and gentlemen. His mum and dad are lovely people. Their grandparents, I've met them all. And they've done me a few favours while I was in the jail. Really nice people.
Brilliant. Three, two, one. Steve Braith, Eric Mason outside Repton Boxing Club. Eric, did you ever see the Kray twins box against each other?
Many
There's
times.
a misconception in the film that they boxed each other as kids. But did they box each other as...
They boxed very often, yeah. And yeah, it was quite common knowledge. The thing that stood out about them, their mum made sure their clothes, their training gear was right, their vests were right, the shorts were right. Everything about them was clean and tidy, and they looked like absolute twins in them days, and they used to knock shit out of each other, you know what I mean, yeah. But, yeah, I saw them fight quite often.
Who used to come out on top?
Reggie more than Ronnie, you know, but Ronnie couldn't. It's like he used to go. Ronnie's been seen to napper people as they come out the ring and one thing and another like that. He wouldn't do that to Reggie. He had too much respect for him, you know. And I think Reggie knew the strength. I think Reggie was capable of doing it, you know.
Brilliant.
I don't know, you know what I mean? Would they do a piece of it?
obviously you can focus in on Eric because I've got the questions as. Right, they bought it in 1967. Okay, so that's where we're starting basically. Just give us a shout, Chris, when you're ready.
Action.
3, 2, 1. Outside the Carpenters Arms with Eric and Steve and the lads. Eric, the Krays bought this in 1967. Obviously, it's just around the corner from their home. What are your memories of the Carpenters Arms?
Well, it's a very popular pub here, and the only bad time was just prior to them having it, was when Ginger Marks got shot actually leaving this pub, and it was a very, very pretty traumatic time, you know, because it was really it was a mistake. He was supposed to have shot somebody else. The people that shot him said, when the guy's gonna come out, walk out, and before he goes on, just as he walks out, they walk out in front of him, and so the next guy out is the guy. So what happened was, Ginger Marks stood up to go, and somebody called him over, and he went back to speak, and the fella walked out, and then a normal bloke, another bloke that was in the pub, walked out, and he just got gunned down, and they knew nothing about it, and that was it. It was a pure mistake. I mean,
20th of October 1967, the date in the Krays calendar, when Jack McVitie stabbed to death by Reggie Kray. Reggie was in the bar itself, drinking quite heavily before that night. I mean, what are your memories of Jack?
Well, Jack was, I would say, one of my best friends, a respected guy. I respected him, he respected me. Him and I went through many years in jail. He was always there for me when it went off, and I had loads of absolute violent situations. Jack was always, when I come out in my cell in the morning, in cuffs, body belts and all that, Jack would be laying on the floor with a body belt on. I knew that he would be there all the time. He's somebody I thought the world of. And when I heard that they had done Jack, I was absolutely ill about it. And at the time, I was in the nick, and I heard, you know, about the twins getting nicked and one thing and another, and I thought, what a liberty, you know what I mean? And when I heard all about it, what had happened, I never spoke to the twins for 5 years. And it was only when Dr. McGrath in Broadmoor wrote to me and asked me would I go and visit Ronnie Kray. And I went to visit him just out of pure, you know, with the doctor. His letter was I still have the letter. And I went down there and spoke to the doctor. I went in to see Ronnie Kray, and Ronnie Kray was in tears, and he was saying, Eric, you haven't been to visit Reggie and all that? And I said no, because ever since Jack died, I never felt like, you know. And he said, do me a favour, go and visit him. And that's when I first went to visit Reggie, and I visited him for 20 years after that, you know what I mean? But that all come about through Jack dying, and he should never have died. And all the stories written about him being a druggie and all that, it was a complete load of cobblers, you know what I mean? It was nothing. Jack was a tough guy, and he was fearless, and I do think the people that took him to his death had a fear for him, and they walked him into his death. And I don't know.
Who do you blame for that? Who do you blame for?
Well, I do know Tony Lambriano. I didn't like him, so you might think, you know, I'm blaming him because I know he did. So I'll tell you something, if Jack had known that he was going to walk into it, he'd have done Tony Lambriano before he walked into Blonde Carroll's house. Yeah.
What about Chris Lambriano?
Well, Chris Lambriano, I can't say much about him because he was a pretty decent guy with me, you know what I mean? He wasn't like his brother. He was always carrying little stories back to the twins and one thing and another. He was a nice guy, you know what I mean? So I've got nothing to say about it. But I did blame Tony Lambriano because I thought he was a bad... I thought he wasn't the type of person that I would like to be with, you know what I mean?
What's the significance of this area?
Well, this is where when I come out of the Crucible, this is where I grew up, around here. It was only like 100 yards walk from the twins' house. And they were like in their teens and I was in my teens. That's how we got to meet each other. We used to go to the boxing clubs together. We've become very close friends over the years.
Has it changed much since the 60s?
Yeah, very much so. Can't believe it. I mean, there's builders, shops here were never there. And, no, it's really different altogether. Just can't believe it, this place now.
Brilliant. St Matthew's, yep.
Yeah.
Back up towards St Matthew's. Right. Why the Krays in general, why do you think most people on the streets are asking about that? Okay, Chris, do you want to come forward to do a bit of camera again, just with the lads behind? 3, 2, 1. St Matthew's Church, Steve Wraith and Eric Mason. St Matthew's Church, Eric, again synonymous with a Kray story because it's where the 3 services were held with the 3 brothers.
Yeah.
Were you here for each of the funerals?
I was here for the first 2 funerals, Ronnie and Charlie. I was in the jail for Reggie's funeral. But the reason Ronnie had a great following for the funeral, because I think people were starting to talk about comparing the normal local tearaways with the old time people. People were saying, oh, the young fellas, these young kids here today, they're nothing like the twins used to be, and everybody local, it was a kind of a thing, they had people on their side. Even the people on the barras around here, I spoke to them, people, and they say, "Oh, nice one," and all that, and always said nice things about the twins. You know, we never had any muggings and all that kind of stuff around here. I mean, they did. People genuinely did rate the twins. You know what I mean? And there was no anti. You know, or they, you know, I've heard stupid people. One particular guy I met at the races, and who's on. We borrowed the television stuff for radio for TV4, and he said to the bloke who was doing the TV thing, "Who's that bloke?" He said, "Oh, he's a friend of the Kray twins." And the bloke said, "They deserve to die in Nick jail." He never even knew them. He knew nothing about them. And but the majority of people in this area, and most people throughout the whole of the country, had a feeling, you know, that the Kray twins weren't any threat to them, and they always felt, you know, and they was nice to people. They had people on the stalls. They go and they'd always say nice things about them. You know what I mean?
Why do you think that the public turned out en masse for the Kray funerals? Do you think it was curiosity? Do you think it was because people genuinely wanted to see the Krays and show the support for the Krays?
I think it was more the support than the... I think they felt they'd done long enough, you know. They'd done much more time than people that get done for horrific crimes are out within a few years. And in them days, it was like, when are they going to let the twins out? When they started dying in the neck, that's when people used to really genuinely, you could tell, you spoke to anybody, publicans, people in stores, people in shops. They didn't have, they was pleased that, you know, at least hoping that Reggie would live to come out, but he died, unfortunately, the minute he comes out.
Why do you think the prison authorities made such an example of Reggie Kray in particular? Why do you think why do you think it was because he showed no remorse?
I don't think the penal system has anything to do with it. It all comes from the Home Office. It's nothing to do with because I know, I've found it myself. If you're a decent bloke in jail and you do your thing, you don't have to be I mean, I probably attack more prison officers than anybody else in prison at any time through my life, because that's all I'd known when I first went into jail. But I went into jail recently, you know, after being out for quite a long time. I went into jail and I found them pretty decent people, and they helped me get through my sentence. I'm here now, and I think that the violence and all that stuff is taken out of this system now, and I don't think the prison officers themselves don't have any say in them out, and the parole boards, you know, I think they lean over backwards to guys that try to be sensible about it in life. You know what I mean?
Do you think 30 years was a just sentence for the Krays? Do you think it should have been less?
Less. But if you look at, you know, from my point of view, it was horrific that Jack Lehat died. But 30 years in jail is a very, very long time. And I mean, people that do molest children and do dreadful crimes against women and do horrific things in people's houses and all that kind of stuff, is they don't do half of that time, you know what I mean?
Did Reggie Kray and Ronnie Kray show any remorse for their crimes in conversation with you during the sentence?
No, I must say they did think they was doing what they thought was favours, and they was trying to portray themselves as people that had done. But the people, as far as I'm concerned, when Jack the Hat died in Long Carroll's house, that was a liberty, because Jack was okay, he was a good guy. He didn't deserve that kind of death, you know what I mean?
Do you think Chat the Hat would have killed the Krays if he'd had the chance?
I'll tell you what, if he knew that he was being taken to his death, he would have done some damage. He was capable of looking after himself, and he would have taken more than 1 or 2 people to do him.
Spot on. Brilliant. Good, that, Eric.
Can I just get a big photograph?
Get all their information from
Yeah.
What was that, Eric? You just want to say that again to the camera? This is what the Marcus at Cornwallis wasn't one of the locals, but people used to come here and wait for them.
Yeah, hoping that they would come in. You know.
I haven't seen him, I've spoken to him, he's okay, yeah, he's getting alright. Has he been down here or not?
Can I offer you something?
Yeah, I'm
Cup
gonna
of
have
coffee
a
or
cup of
something?
tea.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Come on, jab up here. Alright, hi. Well, you. Oh, hey, alright. Hello. Alright.
Hi. How you doing? Okay? Yes. You right? I do.
Next meeting, just like us. Eric, Luci's Cafe, memories of this place.
It's a natural thing we did every morning without fail. I'd go and knock on the door of the twins' house like most people used to do. And if Violet came out and said, the boys are just getting up. So we got police who were right up there from the used to come in here and sit here for an hour or two every morning, regular, and plot the whole day.
Has it changed much over the years?
Yes, changed a bit, but I mean it was, you know, this furniture and all that is different. I mean, the atmosphere is still nice. People are very nice. There's someone want to come back to them days. This is the place to come to.
Coca-Cola, please.
I should imagine the old man's been dead quite a long time. I'll have a talk in a minute.
Is this where the incident happened with the police officer with Ronnie outside the front of here?
Yeah, right outside this door.
Can you remember what happened? Do you know the story?
No. I know he chinned the cop around.
That's right. Was there anything else, any other memories that you've got?
No, it was all
just somewhere
it was a meeting place, you know.
I'll take a piss on that.
I haven't pushed it in none of them. No, okay. Just bring you some sugar. Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Coca-Cola, please.
It's funny, 2 weeks later, they don't say that all of a sudden there's a photograph of all these Scottish supporters.
Steve Wraith and Eric Mason outside English's funeral parlour. English's funeral parlour, Eric, where the bodies of Ron, Reg and Charlie were kept in state.
They were all laid there. And the people have been, you couldn't move down here for all the funerals, and it was just done very nicely. So, yeah, I mean, for me it was sad days really, them funerals. Charlie especially, I know. He was a nice bloke, Charlie Kray was, a gentleman. And I came to his funeral here. And it was sad, it was really sad, because he never deserved going to jail. He was fitted up exactly the same as what I was. And I have bad memories of this place. So, there you go. Their funerals were well supported, and you couldn't look. There was thousands of people around these streets, couldn't go anywhere.
Did you actually go in and pay your respects to?
Yeah, to each and every one. Except for Reggie, I wasn't there for him. But yeah, I went in, and sadly enough, I mean, there was people that I didn't even want to speak to in there. You know, I didn't like, so I wish I won't even go over that one. Just forget about them. You know, the people that I don't like, and that's it. But unfortunately, they had nothing. Unfortunately, they were laying there to be buried, and that was it.
Why do you think so many people are obsessed with the Krays, Eric? Why do you think there's this obsession? Why do you think the legend, the myth, if you like, lives on?
Because they were kind of nice people to meet, you know. Do you know something? I'm going to tell you something now. Reggie Kray phoned me up one day and said to me, we met that fellow in Newcastle, and I think you remember when I came up to Newcastle many years ago, and Billy Daniels, the black singer, used to sing that old black magic, and he said to me and Reggie that night, he said, I must introduce you to Frank Sinatra. And we got it on. We went to Stockholm because there was a boxing match on there. Floyd Patterson and Eddie Machin fought there for the world heavyweight title. And me and Reggie was invited to come over, and Frank Sinatra booked the whole 4th floor, and we were guests of his. And he introduced us to Dino Cellini that night, and we met in a club, and it was magic. And from then on, Dino Cellini, I mean, I didn't know, I knew he was an American mafia man and all that, but he was the #1 man at the time. And I went to New York, and I went to Florida, and I met them, and I had an absolutely wonderful time. Never done any business with them, but there was we done them a lot of favours when they came over here, and they opened the casinos here, and we was getting a very good living from them. They didn't need doormen or anything. We done the security for them, and that was while Dino Cellini was over here. And eventually they all got slung out of here because of people finding out who they had been. I didn't know. I mean, whatever, they were gentlemen as far as we were concerned. And every Friday I used to go down and get an envelope. And I used to go, where we've just been now, Leachy's, I used to go down on a Saturday morning and take $4 grand down, and we went down £1,000 each, me, Ron, Reggie and Charlie, every Saturday morning. It was a good old day.
You just keep talking, that's great.
Yes, just it's all about you, also about you. What I've kind of done is the George Cornell jump and have thing. I want people to realise they are human beings and that they were, people who weren't just two mugshots who were shot and stabbed. I want them to come across to the human aspect, which is what you wanted all along. You wanted to make them out to be. Lenny Hamilton will do that as well, I'm sure, because he speaks very highly of both of them, as well as speaking highly of you, which is great. So I've been all over the place.
Did you get the right house?
Yeah.
On the corner?
Yeah.
Get the old... Hello there. You alright?
Yeah, very well.
You got the right house on it, have you?
Yes.
What number did you get? 97 Everin Road?
Good. 97?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the club as well?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Good.
I was just about to whack you in a chair then.
David coming down now.
We drink the drink start
How's it going with Pete? Hi.
Can I get the back of your toilet, Steve?
Huh?
Can I get the back of your toilet, Steve?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Yeah.
It's going well so far. Still got my bit to do. I'm just on call with it.
Right.
Not looking forward to the
Are they?
He's listening to That's a good thing. Fish in a pocket. Why, mate? You all right?
Great kid. Oh yes, I. Well, I did the Empire Behind Doors when Billy was on it. And I did the program. I've written
Two. There we go. You got a cigarette packet on you?
I didn't smoke.
You don't smoke?
It's fucking in it.
You got a bit of lager.
Fucking up, yeah.
Inside the inside you put the food down, if you open your hand, we squeeze it, cries, there's a lager. Ah, so we get you a napkin.
Why's everybody looking at me? I'm not sure me a fucking drink.
I know,
Making my beer again.
Tabs go up close, out in the out loud. You got a ring?
It's my wedding ring.
You don't have to take it off if you don't want anything.
No, it's all right. I'd fucking like you to take the wife with it if you could.
Make it a spit.
It's precious though, isn't it, yeah?
Well, that's a high degree of this, yeah.
Reach, trip Newcastle or not? Let's see exactly.
I don't know yet.
It's the cheapest divorce ever, bro.
That's it. What do you think? Make the fucker off.
Easy.
Does that say Ratners? Oh, that's about 1% gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. I'll warm up better later on. I'm not with it yet.
Yeah, man, I hope you don't fucking come out of it.
You won't get blown.
No.
So of course you haven't introduced me yet. That's a very good old man of mine.
Nice one, I'll Jeff Frost, yeah. I've heard a lot about you.
You know,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I've seen you somewhere, first on your son.
I've heard a lot, yeah, from Billy from that way. I'll tell you a funny story, see if you remember. I went to an house one day in, what's his name, there's family of fires, boxers, and they lived near Tottenham Way. And I go over and knocked on the door, the geezer, Danny, his wife come on, opened the door, and she said, oh, there's a mate of yours in here. And it was Teddy Smith.
Oh, that's
So I
him.
said-
He's dead now.
Yeah. So I said, oh fucking hell, was he? So he said, the twins asked Billy Frost, will he go and
Yeah, he's coming out.
lay down,
Shit, and he let Fraser on that telly.
go and lay down and keep out of the way. They're going to have a movie that...
Well, we did, didn't we? Didn't you read Nipper Reed's book?
Oh, did? No, I not read it.
Yeah, it's in now. All that. Connie wrote, said he said, like Connie wrote to him, you know, and
wanted a thing, and Tommy Cowley messed it all up, didn't he?
Oh, so
Yeah.
Smithy said to me, I'm taking his place and all that. Now, I knew that me and you, and I think Connie was all, we was all together only a week or so before, I think. So I thought, have I got fucking Teddy Smith? He said, no, I'm coming and took Billy's place because he can't make it. All he's got to do is go home and sleep for a fucking month. I mean, it was all bollocks anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, is that written in his book? I'll have to look at that.
They hurt their own. Yeah. If they'd have had any brains, they could have been multi-millionaires.
Right, that's it.
And it wouldn't have been a nick.
No.
But the thing that the twins wanted was respect, but they never got it in the East End. Charlie had it, Charlie played.
Yeah.
I respected Charlie quite a lot. But them two, well then Reggie was gay, wasn't he? Come out with search in my book, innit?
Yeah.
I called it, in 1960.
He went with him and he vanished that and just vanished.
Yeah, he was a dodgy brat. Mind you, he's on all the, every time you look at television, Donnie Hughes making up another story about, I mean...
Oh, yeah. Oh, that happens all the time, doesn't it, Eric? You know, like a lot of these things were rumours, weren't they, you know? Not real things, like, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I think, you know, when I think back to them days, there's only people like you and I and... Connie and people slag Connie off now, to me.
Oh yeah, they do, but Connie never done a thing wrong.
He come to visit me when I went to live in Yorkshire. He was the first man with Billy Cox. Come up to see me. And took my kids out in the roller, down to the racing and all that kind of thing. Nice man, he was a nice man.
He was a very nice man. He still is a nice man, you know.
Yeah, you see him, give him my regards.
I will do that.
I'll leave you my mobile number.
I've got one mobile of yours. I've got it on my phone.
Oh, that's one I left at your house.
House, yeah.
Give it to Connie.
Yeah, I'll get them to give you a
I
ring.
think Billy's got it as well, Billy Cox.
He's supposed to be here, Bill, wasn't he?
Anyway, they got down to the caravan, and Ronnie's got pissed. Anyway, he started slapping the boy about. When they got in the caravan, the boys went over to Reggie, like, you know, Ronnie stayed with him.
Did he?
Yeah. My mate had to bring you back in the car, waiting for fucking Stephen Bay. That was the last murder they done.
Yeah.
No, not a lot of people.
No, and that ain't come out in nothing, is it?
No.
I was thinking,
no books.
how old we're getting, Eric.
No reviews. Kate Krays and all that.
Look at him, he's in his 50s, he's my son. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
It's absolutely amazing,
people
isn't it?
say to me, I can't believe it. Like,
Yeah.
And it's you know, I'm 75, but I see him dropping like flies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mind you, I try to look after myself for a few years.
What we're doing, we're just doing an open chat for the first half an hour, just to chat with everybody.
Open chat with these notorious men.
All right.
I'm always surrounded by notorious men. Aren't I just?
Hello, darling.
I'm all right, and you, honey?
Yeah, not so bad.
Yeah. How are you doing?
She don't remember me.
That's asking if I've got here. It's probably Ronnie Kray.
I don't think so.
or do you think it's his spirit?
It might be his
Do you
ghost.
think it's his spirit?
It could possibly be his ghost.
How are you?
Right.
Good.
You don't remember me, do you?
I do, and I would look at Eric.
Yeah.
How are you?
You never alter. You never alter.
I'm not going to alter. How can I alter? I'm the godmother, aren't I? How can I alter with all this lot to look after? Eh? Oh, yeah, look. I'm an East End girl, but I'm really an Arsenal. I'm really an Arsenal girl, aren't I? Oh, make sure he sees it.
Yeah. When I go back to Manchester, I can show them all up.
With the Gunners.
So you got a shirt up, Flanagan, right, so you can wind everyone up in Manchester.
with the Arsenal shirt. Yeah, he's going to. Yeah, he's going to frame it and display it throughout Manchester.
Are you having memories here, Eric?
Arsenal shirt.
I've got great memories here. God. Hi, Liz. Hi. I see all the other half are over there. Cheers to you. Cheers. Cheers. We're back in here after all this time. Every time I come here, I think of the other two. Oh. That's lovely and cold.
Your dad was
it's not bad.
Yeah, he came down there.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a good pack one time.
I think of so many people when I'm in here. I come in and I can see people sitting there, you know. Even, you know, I can just go back so many years, don't we, all of us? What's your name? Sorry? Chris. Have we seen you before, Chris? My name's Flanagan. Yes? Where have I seen you before, honey? Whose funeral? I do all the funerals.
Laurie.
Oh, Laurie O'Leary's funeral. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
How are you?
I'm fine. I was doing a more filming last night in the Palm Tree, half a mile up the road. Another film for about East End pubs, East End people, East End characters. There was a band going on in the background, you know, like lots of jazz. And I mean, that's an old original pub. It's got the same old tiles on the wall like 1950, 1960. So, you know, we said what we had to say. Then I pull out my phone and they say, no, not the Arsenal. What can I do? How long have you been here today?
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, right. Well, he didn't tell me to be here till 5:30. Where have you been? What other pub have you been? Any other pubs? Not been along the road to the Grave Morris, where the twins used to go? Where they had all their secret meetings? No?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Steve?
I was in the old brush shop then.
I was in the brush shop. I whacked the geezer, put the geezer in hospital that was having a pop at BT.
Yeah, but he was in there, wasn't he? Teddy Fleming.
Yeah, just 4 doors. I was going to say, you know, where the twins had all their little secret meetings and all their little whatever.
The market was on. It was absolutely, you know, chock-a-block.
Well, I've driven around the circle 3 times to park.
Have you?
Yeah, and I went in there. I said, "Is there any chance of moving a van?"
Yeah.
You know, and they say, "Well, we can't. You know, it's the market people. Plus, there's a big van outside. I thought it might be something to do with the building."
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, I've parked absolute opposite, and I borrowed a disabled van because I'm on a yellow line, so I can have 3 hours for that.
Oh, that's spot on.
And I walked into this guy and I went, he said, "They're all out the back. I think the film is finished." I said, "Oh, well, Marshmallow of Ice is on Steve Raves." I haven't paid for it. I've just poured it out and walked through. I said, "Where is he?" He said, "He's at the back." I went, "Oh, well, it's on. It'll have to be on him. He told me to be here at 5:30. You did, didn't you?"
Yes, you were spot
on. And Joe?
I tell you what, we did well to get around here at the time we did after all the madness.
And I was
we had.
filming 3 hours last night in the Palm Tree.
Were you?
Half a mile up the road.
They get too much. That's why. All it is on the television. Well, I think it, well, I never had it, so.
Well, I mean, not being funny, all we done was just went over the park and you made your own front up, didn't you? Do you know what I mean? You snapped a bit of wood off and that was your gun.
You made a scooter.
Or a scooter, that's right, yeah. I remember that soapbox, remember I was living on the Edgmere Road and that. Knocked
We set off down here. No, but I mean, thanks for it.
David come round,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go and sit there with my boys.
So she said,
I was coming to find.
Had a mouth, but you've just made a happy man old.
Break up the black clothes and the shaven head.
Yeah?
You know.
I said, yeah. Oh no, that's crazy. That's crazy, isn't it?
The worst thing that ever happened here was the Jews moved out of this community.
Yeah.
Because you ain't got a Jewish shop in the East End now.
We were just saying that on the road, weren't we?
Yeah, my grandfather was a rabbi.
Yeah, right.
Type bastard
Yeah.
he was.
When you go around Brick Lane, I think in them days it was all Jewish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brick Lane.
Yeah.
But,
well, what about when the twins had the party for the nurses in the Kentucky, So me and Harry Abrams walked in there. So Reggie come round. We gone in there to have a drink. They had Billy Daniels in there, some old Magic.
Yeah.
And we're having a drink, and he's come over, Reggie. He said something to Harry, and he walked away. I said, what's that, Al? Oh, he said, you're in it. I said, what? He said, they want you to help out behind the bar. I said, fuck off. He said, go on, do it. He said, they'll owe us a favour. So I said, all right. I got pissed myself behind the bar.
As you would. Yeah.
And, do you remember, what was their uncle's name? Oh, what was his name? The grey hair fellow. And anyway, they collected that, went up to Aldgate to all the Jewish people who was buying bank gear and that, like bank cloth and all that.
Yeah.
And they sent the boys up to them to make them come down because they're auctioning the box of chocolates, like, you know, like, that's a big box, like, well. So they're all in the bar and they started the auction. They had a big old Weetabix carton on the stage. So they said, right, we're going to start the auction now. Who'll start the bidding? So one of them, I put the hand up. I'll bid a tenner. Imey got a bid, £20. It went up £100, up down to Imey. So what do you think they said? Yeah. What do you think? Imey's put the chocolates back and they're going to go to auction again. And I'll tell you what, there were some tears in some of them Jewish people's eyes. And you know, part with some money. Yeah, but then when they cut it up, I was there. Poor old Charlie again, they made him help get all the money. They took all the money on the floor, got 2 tables put together. There used to be 10 bob notes then, didn't there, Eric? Yeah. And they put all the money in stacks. Yeah. This is for the nurses in Bangkok Road Hospital. Yeah. That's ours, and that's for the charity.
Well, they got something, though. They got something.
I said to Ronnie, I said, well, don't I get paid, Ronnie? He said, yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Brilliant. He was never greedy to me, Ronnie.
No, he was
never ever greedy to me.
No, he didn't money, he was.
He'd say to me, every time I dropped him off anything, he'd go, you're out the money, and I always went, no, I need some. And he always went, oh, there's a tenner. I mean, tenner was a week's wages then, those. So a lot of people.
You want to laugh? Yeah, you want to laugh? This will back you up.
And I said that like every night.
I used to take Harry Abrams and Elbert Donahue and him down to their bird's house. There was brasses in Paddington. So he's knocking these brasses off in Paddington. Well, I should drop Harry off and them, like a couple of the other firm, and come home. They'd phone me up, come pick us up next morning, and I'd do it. So it's Jeannie's birthday, the one that Harry's knocking off, the grass. So they said, bring Lenny to the party, like, you know, because he's always bringing you up, so I went up there. So the twist was out then, the chubby checker.
Yeah.
Right, so we were in the party, this bird, oh, yeah, I'll tell you what, she had long blonde hair, little mini skirt, and a pair of legs, honestly, beautiful pair of legs I've ever seen. And Bunny come over, he'd been doing a twist for her. He said, I'm sitting on the settee with Harry in it. I used to think the guy now. He said, that bird fancies you. I said, fuck off. He said, no, she does. I said, oh, all right. He said, she'd come over to dance with you. So she come over, we had a dance. It's about 3 o'clock, I was 3 now. She said, I'm tired. She said, would you take me home? I've got my car outside. It was a little MG Sports, like. So I said, yeah. She said, Harry said you're not a drinker. I said, that's right. So anyway, she gave me the keys. I took her to Kensington. And underneath, like, she had the old fucking thing.
Yeah.
Took her up to her flat. And, it's beautiful in there. And the bar was, it's out of this world. So she made me a cocktail. I never had a fucking cocktail. I didn't know what cocktail was. So she said to me, do you mind if I go now and put something online? Yeah. She said, I said, no, do what you like, love.
Yeah.
So she kissed me before she went. She come back, she had a fucking DA haircut. It was a geezer. No!
Lenny was a puff.
Yeah. And then when I got back to Paddington, you go down the area. They're all looking around the fucking curtain. Harry Abrams opened the door. He said, Len, come and hurry up. There's a redhead in. He's not fancy you.
bastards, eh? Hey, God, yeah. You were tapped up like a kitten.
He got captured a couple of times like that.
Tapped up like a kitten. Brilliant.
He had no woods once and made it.
You never thought it was a geezer, though, not in a million years.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, she looked better than Atlantic now, like, you know. He looks a bit rough, like the one there. What about...
Well, you want to know that?
Yeah, what about when she said she went to visit Ronnie in Baltimore?
Yeah.
And they come up and tapped them on Charlie on the arm and said, Charlie, would you pay Ronnie's bill?
Yeah.
How much is it? £900.
£900?
You get fucking get me £900 in the neck. I don't know, come out with
£900.
Well, she used to be married to my mate, didn't she? Coxie.
Oh, right, yeah.
Terry Cox.
Yeah.
He divorced her.
Yeah, they come from all over the place.
She was
I
playing
get
a band.
150 letters a week.
Bloody hell.
You got to get Lenny on there.
Yeah.
There we are. Come on. Get in the boat and walk.
Hold me because I've got
Come on,
the other
girl.
leg.
That's it. Oh, dear. Did you hear what she said? There we go.
Did you hear what she said? Yes. Get the other leg. That right? Yeah. That right, Eric? Yeah. Oh, so glad to see you. So glad to see you well. Well, Eric looks marvellous. Looks marvellous. Here we are in Cheers.
Yeah.
Steve?
I was at the funeral with him a few months ago.
Who's that?
He looks just like Bobby Ramsey's son.
Bobby Ramsey, poor old Bobby Ramsey.
He lives in
eh?
Gloucester. His son lives in Gloucester.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, they're leading.
Hey?
Cheltenham?
No, Gloucester. Yeah, Cheltenham. There we go.
Yeah.
For the cameras.
To the cameras. Hi. Hi and cheers.
He's got digital ones.
That means that we can see, as you know, with the briefcase lot. They've just come from Denmark. I was with them last night in the palm tree filming. So,
We're doing a similar thing.
so they're there. You know Joe, that's with them. He does the business with them. No, it was about East End pubs, East End characters, how long you've been using the pub, blah, blah, blah. It was good. Of course, we had a thunderstorm right in the middle of them filming. It's a big, big, old-fashioned pub, Steve. Have you never been there?
Never been where you always go.
It's exactly the same as if it was, let me think, say 1960 on the dot. You know, red and gold wallpaper. You think the door's going to walk open and Ronnie Kray's going to walk in?
Yeah.
That's what you feel like.
Was that the palm tree?
Palm tree. You know,
Yeah, I know.
It's got grass outside and the canal, the old East End canal running right past it. People sitting on the grass last night when the thunderstorm was in the rain, and we were filming inside. The tiles are original, Steve. You know, the old green and white tiles that you get round old-fashioned. And leaded glass windows.
Carrie, we'll have to do a do-down.
Hello. Haven't said hello to you yet.
That's Rick.
Hi, Rick. Oh, they'll be good. They'll come out, Rick.
Your book signing is the photographs that was taken there. I know it was a little while ago. I've actually put on my website now on the front. Yes, but I've chucked them on my website as well, so they're on there now. They look alright. Flanagan's here. Yeah, we're there. Me and you. Brilliant.
Where am I not?
Lovely photo. Brilliant.
When did you bring it?
I know.
Where is it now?
Well, I've got it at home, but I've put it on the...
I'll murder you, you know.
I'll put it on my website. You're actually right on the front there.
Does it look good?
Yeah, brilliant.
Is it me and you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
who else? Just me and you?
Yeah, me and you, yeah. It was taken at Steve's, the video launch.
The video?
The video
Oh,
launch, yeah.
how will I see you? Can't I have a...
Lenny Hamilton and Steve Wraith and the Blind Beggar. Lenny, the Kray twins, heroes or villains?
They were villains. They were stupid villains. If they'd have left their own alone, they'd have been multi-millionaires today, and they probably wouldn't have been in Nick, you know. But the trouble is, they hurt their own, and their own went against them. You know, you can only go so far, push people so far, and that's it, like, you know. But the reason why they didn't like Charlie is because people respected Charlie, the older brother. He was a nice fella, Charlie. And he got the respect that they always wanted but never got, you know. And I've seen them up Charlie in their house, like, you know, I've been there while they've smacked him round the face and not in front of other people, like, you know what I mean? Don't do that type of thing.
You were branded by Ronnie Kray to take
Ronnie,
the title of your book.
Yeah.
Can you explain, you know, why and...
Yeah, well, I was in the Regency Club. I just come back from up north, just done a mansion up there, like, you know, because I was a jewel thief. And I went round to my mate Harry, and he wasn't in. Jeannie's wife said, I think it's down the Regency. That's where they all used to go. So I went down the Regency looking for him, but Harry wasn't there. And Pat Connolly, he was at the counter with a fella, and his girl, could have been his girl, his wife, I didn't even know him. So Pat's got me a drink, because I've got them a drink, and as I'm getting them a drink, I got the fella a drink. I said to the girl, well, what do you want, love? You know, what do you do? I said, if it was an old girl, I'd say, what do you want, lady? He pulled a tool out, went to cut me. So Pat's got hold of his wrist. I said, what are you doing? You don't do that to Lenny. So anyway, about 20 minutes later, he said, can I talk to you out in the toilet? Now I thought, he feels embarrassed, like, you know. So I said, yeah, I'll talk to you, mate, out there. Well, I've done a bit of boxing years ago, like, you know. So I'm walking out. As I'm walking out, someone shouted out, what's your back? He's only going to cut me down the back. So I dived at the door, and as the door's got in, I fell on the floor. He's come at me with this razor, and I've bobbed him, you know, duck and dive, and bang, I'll give him left and right, broke his nose. And then Ricky Bloom, who was minding the club, he said, Len, you better have it away, there'll be murders. I said, I ain't done nothing. He said, I know you ain't. He said, well, you know who that is on the floor there? I said, no. He said, that's on the wall. I said, who the hell's he? He said, it's Buller's son. Buller was like friends with the twins. So they got me out of there. I found out they all went down here with guns, they were going to shoot me and everything. And then I was living in Leadbridge Road at the time, and Andy Paul, he was a minder for the Krays up the Esmeralda's barn. And he come home and he said, Len, Ronnie wants you to get him on the phone. I said, what's the time, Andy? He said, it's just gone 1. I said, now I go round Fort Vallance in the morning. That's what we called their house, like, you know. So he said, you better get up now, Len. He said, because you know what they're like, know what Ronnie's like. So anyway, I got up. I just had this suit. 2 weeks I had it, a grey worsted suit. So I got ready. I thought, I've got to get dressed up, can't cut this, you know. Anyway, I got up there, got a cab, got up there. I said to the cab driver, will you wait, mate? I won't be 5 minutes. Went up there. As I walked in where all the tables are, gambling tables, they was all down. There's all geezers standing up the wall and this wall, like, all right. And they said, oh, go out there, Len. Went out the kitchen. Ronnie was standing right opposite me. He said, come and sit in a chair, Len, an old armchair. So I sat in this old armchair, and he kept mumming, he went into one, right, you know. So I thought, what the fucking hell was he talking about? Like, friends of theirs and, you know. Anyway, he said, get hold of him. And two of the geezers got hold of me. And then when he turned, I saw all these pokers on the gas fire. They were like what they sharpen knives on, you know, but the big ones, like, and they used in the fish meat market. Anyway, picked one up. He dropped it because the handle was wood and it's too hot. And I thought he was just trying to frighten me. But he's got a glove, one of them oven gloves, come over with it, and he put it across there, and then he put one across, he just stabbed it on, across there. Then he went back and got another one. Then he done it across there, and I shut my eyes. I thought, fuck, he's going to kill me now. He said, open your fucking eyes, or I'll burn your eyes out. So I've opened my eyes, set light to my suit, and he said, I'm going to fucking do you now. And I know it was who shouted out at the back. They said, no, Ron, not that. And he just switched off like that. He said, go on, you can go now. But people have said so many lies. They said I was tied to a chair. I wasn't. I was staying up. But I pissed myself, tell the truth. But I saw a doctor told me, he said that's a natural thing, because that's your nerves, like, you know, he said it's a natural thing. I said, but it's a funny thing about it all. When he burnt me the first time, the others I didn't feel. You know, he said, well, that can happen, like, you know. And he said, go, you can go now. I went out. I got a cab driver to take me to Harry Abraham's house. Jeannie come out, his wife. Now, the time I got there, I got all blisters coming up on my face. I looked like a fucking elephant, man. I did. Next morning, I had a blister come up right like that. Honestly, all this, I had none of this here. This eye was shut, and the next morning, that shut the next, about dinner time, this one shut. So, they kept me in there for about 6 weeks. You know, got this doctor, strap-off doctor, come down and looked at me. Jeannie got me this oil and put on me, like, you know. And then the twins had the fucking cheek to say, tell them to come down and have a drink with friends now. How can you be friends with fucking, they was animals. You know, they was both as bad as one. They say Reggie was the quiet one. Reggie was more vicious, I think, than Ronnie. He could be wicked, Reggie, you know.
You walked in on Reggie, and I know I've read in your book here, you say you walked in on Reggie Kray.
Oh, yeah.
You were one of the first people to know Reggie's
Well, it's only along the road here. We was at a party, and I had my mate's keys in my pocket, and I thought, like, I want to go home. So I'm trying to find him to give me his car keys. So they said, the fellow whose house it was, Connie, he said, oh, he took Jeannie upstairs. That was his wife. She didn't feel well. Well, she died now of cancer. So anyway, she go up then, like, you know. I said, OK, gone upstairs. I knocked on the door, went in, and it was empty. I heard a noise. So I thought, oh, well, he's in there. When I went in there was Reggie, got a boy bent over the bed, giving him one up there, you know. He's come over to me. Oh, I was dumbstruck. I was standing there, I couldn't believe it. And he's got his cock out, fully erected. He come over to me, he's got me round the neck, he lifted me up in the air, and I'm against the door. And he said to me, if you breathe a word to this, he said, this is what his famous words were, you'll disappear from the face of the earth. Anyway, when I went in the pub the next dinner time, only up the road here, we all used to make Sunday dinner. They're saying, what's all them fucking bruises round your neck? Why, did she fancy you and all that? But I couldn't say he'd done it. But then I found out, when I went home, that Reggie and Ronnie had a fight outside the house. Because the boy that Reggie was giving one up, it was Ronnie's boy. Bobby Buckley, you know. And I never said nothing about that, right till he come out with it in the People. He said he was bisexual, so I thought, fuck it, I'll put it in my book now to let people know the truth. And it is the truth, you know. But people have told so many lies about him. Even Flanny, I think she said, oh, when she went to Dartmoor, her and Charlie to see Ronnie, the geezer, Broadmoor, the geezer come over and said, well, to Charlie, would you like to pay Ronnie's bill? 900 quid. How can you make a fucking bill up in an Enigma for 500 quid? When I first went, I only got about fucking 7 a week.
Why do you think people use the name? Why do you think people still build the name up, make it the legend?
Take what's her name? Kate Kray. Take her. She's wrote them Hard Bastards and all that, isn't she? Now she used to work. She lived in Kent. She used to work making toilet rolls with her mother in a factory. Then she became a discogram, and then she married Ronnie Kray. So a friend of mine was a reporter. So when he went and interviewed her, he said, well, why did you divorce from Ronnie Kray now? He said, why do you keep the name Kray? Isn't it better to go back to your single name or your married name, Hudson? She said, no, I'll keep the name because it commands respect. Well, who's going to buy her books? Kate Hudson. But they buy them Kate Kray, and she's earned a lot of money out of it. Right? Good luck for her.
When Ronnie Kray passed away, you were one of the only people to speak out about the Krays. Do you still feel as strongly now as you did? You know, have you haven't got.
All the shows I've been like, all the television programs, I've always run them. Oh, well, fucking why make them out to be martyrs when they were fucking animals? Well, animals is too good a word to save them.
An obvious question, really, but was the East End a better place when the Krays?
Oh, it was, yeah. I'll tell you what, when they went away, I was on the Kray case. I only went on the Kray case because they were going to shoot my 2 kids. And my kids was only 5 and 6 at the time.
Do you genuinely believe that letter was from the Krays,
Oh,
or do you
yeah,
think it was from the police?
Absolutely right.
Because I know, like in your book,
yeah.
there's a little bit of self-doubt. You question yourself in a sense, and you think maybe.
No, I
with
said
hindsight, you know,
I didn't know if Nipper Reed had it sent in or someone but the writing was theirs.
It was unmistakable.
It's like little kids can write better than them.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew it was their writing.
Yeah.
But I wondered if it was Nipper Reed had got hold of it or you know what I mean? But then I thought they couldn't have done because it's their writing. And I reckon they come up, no stamp on the letter. So they must have come up, give it to someone in the neck to put in me Peter.
Very brave to stand up even in 1995 and say what you did. Did anything happen after? Yeah.
I got stabbed there.
Yeah. Was that in the 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Kray case. Yeah. I got stabbed there. And the geezers who done it, they. I was in the spill in Stamford Hill.
Yeah.
And they'd all had a big, they had good thieves.
Yeah.
Just done a bank, like gold, a lot of dough. Anyway, we was in the spill and they all half pissed. And someone's talking about the Krays. I don't know this because I'm playing cards. This is what I found out. That someone said, no, he was with the Krays like me. But they meant like he got done by the Krays. So, because when I left, there was a little alleyway outside. They took the bulb out of the light. Well, you know what I mean? I've walked out, and there are about 6 of them there. They give me a kicking. I had blood coming out of my ear, just stabbed me in the fucking leg, stabbed me again. Well, I didn't feel them because they gave me such a kicking. And I recognised one of them, and I was living in Finchley then. And my mate is dead now, Johnny Lehman. I told him, I phoned him up. I said, I recognise one of them, John. Oh, he said, I know him. I'll go round and see him then. Nah. He's phoned me up on the afternoon. He said, it's all right to bring him down tonight. He said, we'll be down about 6 o'clock. Is that all right? I said, yeah, all right. So anyway, they come down. The geezer gave me £5 grand. He said, we're sorry that happened. And he said, like, we got it all wrong because the Krays shot my uncle years ago. And they said, we thought you was on the Krays. I said, you fucking joking. I said, I hate them. So they give me £5 grand.
Any repercussions in '95 when you spoke out? You know, when Ronnie Kray died, did you have anybody?
Oh, I had phone calls.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to phone the phone company, cranky phone calls, like you know. Yeah. And I had to phone them up, and they monitored all the calls, like you know, the calls that was coming in.
Brave to come back to East End, and I respect you for the fact that you didn't walk away from the East End.
Ronnie Hart went to Australia, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know?
Just around the East End, we've been around with Eric. Obviously, this DVD's about Eric. We've been to Police's. We've been to, you know, the East End. You live down here. It's your home. You know, how's it changed?
He's well respected, Eric. In the East End.
Well, give us a little bit about Eric. What do you feel about Eric? You know, and how do you know?
Well, I'll tell you what. He was never a liberty taker. That's one thing. All right, he was friends with the twins. A lot of good people were friends with the twins. Like, you know what I mean? Like. When they say all this protection rackets, all right, they was doing protection rackets, but people did go to them for protection because they knew it was only a matter of time before they went to them. So they thought they'd do it first. And there was a few of them I spoke and they said, I said, what are you going and giving them protection for? They said, well, only going to come out to us and then told me might as well do it. And it looks like a favour to them, doesn't it? You know, and that's how it went on. But with Eric, people loved him. My mate, Harry Abrahams, loved him. And I used to be Harry's driver, and all he ever talked about was him. And that fucking Fraser, what he'd done, he said, on his own, about 5 of them done it. You know, but they took him in the area, wasn't it? You know, fucking bastard. I've been on a few shows. I was in Nick with him in Wandsworth. You know. But they call him the dwarf, don't they? The small dwarf, that's all he is.
Last question for you. Have you retired?
Me? Well, I've climbed 40 and 50 feet in the air, like when I'm doing these things. I can't hardly climb the stairs now. And I've had 11 angina attacks, I've had 3 heart attacks, I've had a stroke, and I suffer from vascular disease, like, you know. But I'll tell you what, if I didn't, I'd be at it. Can't be a good partner. Well, You only nick off of people who can afford to lose a diamond ring or two, don't you? You don't nick off your own.
Robin Hood. Eddie, that's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Absolutely brilliant.
Nice to meet you.
Brilliant. Really, really
Say hello to Michael when you go out.
No, I will.
Yeah.
I will, definitely. Fantastic. Then we'll have a break there, yeah?
All right, mate. Hope I ain't broke your camera.
3, 2, 1. Blind Beggar, Frosty and Steve Wraith. Action. Right, if you can just say a bit to the camera about, just give us your name, age, and what you did in the 1960s, you know, how you got to know the Krays, etc.
Right, I'm Bill Frost. I'm 73.
How did you get to know the Kray twins?
I knew the Krays from way back in the early 50s. I met him in a place called The Royal at Tottenham when I was on the run from the army. And I sort of was on and off with him over a period of 20 years.
Did you work for the Krays?
Yeah, I was Ronnie's driver. And
Ronnie's driver?
yeah, I was Ronnie's driver, yeah.
What was it like driving Ronnie Kray around?
Oh, I liked Ronnie. He was always a very nice fella, and he was always very good to me. And I was sorry when everything went skew with, and I'm sorry he's not here now.
Did you get pulled in, Phil, when the Krays were arrested? Were you?
No, well, when the Krays were arrested, I was on the run myself.
Reggie Kray, did you have much to do with Reggie?
Yeah, I had quite a bit to do with Reg. I sometimes drove him about when I didn't drive Ronnie about. Most times I drove both of them about when I were together.
What was your average day then? You know, you say you were a driver. What would an average day entail driving a Kray twin around the East End of London?
Well, I had to get up, go to Vallance or wherever we were, and run here and run there with them, whatever, you know, whenever I was wanted.
Did you see, you started driving Ronnie Kray, what year would you say you started driving Ronnie around on a regular basis?
In about 62.
62. So between 62 and 69, did you see a change? Did you personally see a change? You obviously knew them well. Did you see much of a change in the personalities, in their appearance?
Yeah, I see like a few changes, you know. I used to visit Ronnie when he was on the Rumpton and that house, now and again, when he was out in Suffolk in the caravan. And in the end he became so ill that I went with Charlie, Reggie and Tom Brown, the bear, and we brought him back to London round to his mum's. And they said the best thing was to get some help for him. And they phoned the family doctor, who was a Dr. Blasker, and he come round and he made arrangements and they took Ronnie back to the mental home.
What was Vallance Road like? What was the house at Vallance Road like?
It was a normal East End house, like, you know, I suppose it was the same for working class people all over Great Britain, their sort of home, you know. And it was nothing sort of special, you know, although they both had nice flats, Ronnie and Reggie. Reggie had a flat at Manor Lee, at Manor House, and Ronnie had a flat in Stoke Newington, in Cottonmouth Court.
East End now, when you look around, I mean, has it changed much over the last 40 years, you know?
Oh, it's changed vastly, yeah.
For the better or for the worse?
Well, I like the old East End. I'm not so keen on the East End there it is now, you know. I'm going back to the days when all the docks were going, you know. People were more friendly, more neighbourly. Now, you know, everyone's got sort of televisions and they all do their own thing. There's no neighbours like no more. People want to keep their self to their self and have their own companies. You know, it's not like it used to be.
When the Krays were arrested, how did you feel personally?
Well, I was a little upset about it because it weren't only the Krays, a lot of my friends were arrested with them, you know. And at the time, when they got arrested, I was on the run. And I was on the run for 9 years, you know. And it's not easy when you're on the run to live.
What about the sentences that the Krays received?
Well, I reckon I was over the top in myself, you know. And all right, they got life, they got 30 years each, but they never let either of them out, you know. I mean, the people they killed, they weren't honest, straight people. They were all villains themselves who they killed. They were all the same sort of people as what they were.
What did you think of Jack the Hat? Personally, did you have much to do with them?
Yeah,
what did you think of Jack the Hat McVitie as a person? Describe
I
Jack,
really
Jack
liked
McVitie.
Jack the Hat. He was a very generous fella. He was the life and soul of any party, you know. And I really felt sorry that they killed him. Like a lot of people on the firm felt the same way. You know, it was very tragic what happened to him.
What about George Cornell?
Well, I got on all right with George. When I was a younger fella, George helped me out quite a bit, you know. And I know him and Ronnie fell out because one night, 8 o'clock at night, I was in the Grave Morris and Ronnie wanted to go to the Stalk Club in Swallow Street in the West End. And I drove them there, him and Reggie. And when we arrived there, we walked into the club and sitting there was Georgie Cornell. And what I didn't know they had a pre-arranged meeting with him. And Ronnie wouldn't go and sit with him, wouldn't have nothing at all to do with him. I went and sat with Ronnie at another table, and Reggie sat and talked to George Cornell. And when we come out of the club, we was only in there half hour, it was early evening, and they weren't really open for business. And when we come out of there, we got in the car, Ronnie sat at the side of me, Reggie sat in the back, and I never spoke a word to one another till we got back to the pub in Wetchap with the Grave Morris. And then I went and sat on another table and had a chat, you know. And it was more or less about 2 weeks to that day that Ronnie see George's Cornell's car outside the Blind Beggar. He used to have a blue Zappa with a big horse's head on the bonnet of it. He see that car and he went back to the Green Dragon Club, got a gun, and he and Barry got a gun as well. He came back to the Blind Beggar and he shot George in the head. You know, that was what happened.
Obviously, you knew about the murders. How did you feel? Did your attitude change, or were you still loyal to the cause, if you like?
Well, I had to be loyal to the twins, you know. I mean, I like George Cornell, but like the twins, he was no angel, you know. He done his share of violence and whatnot, you know. George was a tough character himself.
Did you ever feel threatened yourself? You know, with Jack the Hat obviously working for the twins at some point, and you know, basically, you know, in words of other people, you know, they killed one of their own. Did you not possibly feel that tables might get turned on you one day, or that there could be some kind of, you know, day when your card was up? You know, that ever cross your mind?
Well, I did when they killed Jack the Hat. I wasn't actually on the firm. I thought it was a little bit dangerous for me to be associated with him at the time, because I was wanted for a long-term fraud that I was involved with. And I weren't on the firm, but I learned after of other people on the firm what they'd done, and there was quite a few of the firm who didn't like the idea of what they'd done to Jack.
What about Eric Mason? We're down here with Eric today. What's your views on Eric?
I think Eric is a really lovely bloke, you know. He's never really harmed anybody. He's just a lovely, regular fella, you know. I've known Eric a long while. We served sentences together on Dartmoor and in Wandsworth and in other prisons. And we associated with people like a lot of the train robbers, Bruce Reynolds, and that. And we was on Dartmoor together, and Mitchell was there, another one who the twins had killed. So, you know, Eric was never involved in any of that sort of thing. He was always a good thief when he was young, Eric.
Frank Mitchell, you touched on him. What was Frank Mitchell like?
Frank was a very big, powerful man. He was very strong. I don't think anyone would have really stood much chance of having a fight or anything like that with him. He was a man of immense strength, but he was very childish in himself, you know. And I never ever knew Frank Mitchell all the time I knew him in prison, and like other people tell you in prison, I never ever knew of him to ever hurt another prisoner.
That's great. Excellent. Rusty, fantastic.
You're welcome, my son.
Absolutely brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lenny Hamilton, I forgot to do this before and I should have. Second interview with Lenny Hamilton outside the Blind Beggar. 3, 2, 1. Lenny, I just want to ask you about the Krays 3 victims. First off, Jack the Hat.
Jack the Hat was my mate, and he's just like anyone else. He'd had a few drinks, and not always, but sometimes, you know, and he got a little bit out of hand, but it didn't mean nothing, you know. And when they tried to put him down, that he was a tuppenny halfpenny crook, and he was a good thief. He was getting plenty of dough, you know. And when they said he threw his wife out the car, but it's a load of lies. Jack would never do that, like, you know. Like, he loved the birds. Who didn't? You know what I mean? He's not on his own, you know. And Jack the Hat was on a gold bullion job down to them, and they got hundreds of thousands of pounds it was worth, and all the Krays gave him was $3,000, and that's why he went down to Regency with a gun I bought him. It was an American service revolver. They said he went down there with a shotgun with a load of lies. He went down there, he got a bit drunk, and I was drinking with him that afternoon in the Salisbury in Balls Pond Road, and he started going down there. He said, I'm going to fucking kill them bastards. I said, Jack, leave it out. I said, it ain't worth it. But on the night time, he did go down there. He'd have shot them if they'd have been there.
I was just going to say to you, did Jack the Hat have the capability of killing the Kray twins?
Pardon?
Do you think Jack would have had the capability of being...
Oh, yeah, he would have done it. He would have done it that night. You know, because another time he come over to me, I was living in East Ham. And this is when I bought the gun, and I phoned up to say, I've got a present for you, Jack. So when he come over, I gave him it in a shoebox. And then he opened it and said, cool, lovely, like, because he loved guns. Like, he always carried a little gun in his waistcoat, like, you know. Anyway, I'll give him the gun. Oh, lovely. He said, I've got something for them outside. I said, what's that? I said, go out and bring it in. So he went out, come back. He had it in like a bit of a blanket thing. He's unwrapped it. He's only got a hand grenade in it. I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, I'm going down there. I'm going to wait for them to come home. He said, I'm going to fucking fling it and blow them up. I said, you can't do it, Jack. I said, because you're going to injure innocent people in the flat, so you can fucking blow people up. So we finished that. I got him, and I took him down to the Thames, and we threw it in the Thames. But he would have thrown it in there. He would have blown them up that night, you know.
What about George Cornell?
Well, I used to work in Billingsgate Fish Market years ago. I'm going back 1946, you know, and George had an empty warehouse down there. He's a hard man, George. And I used to work with Mac Fisheries. I start work at 4 o'clock, finish about 10, 11. With Georgie and his brothers always fighting Jimmy. So they had an empty warehouse, had a load of empties to get out this day. So as I'm going home, Georgie gave me a call. He said, here, Len, you want to do us a favour? He said, a few quid for you. I said, what's that, George? He said, I've got to get these empties out today, because they used to come down with horse and carts then, you know, from the railway. And he said, would you give us a hand? I said, yeah, George. And that's how I started with him. And every time he had empties to go out, I used to give him a hand to do the empties, like, you know. But then another time, he was drinking with a pal of mine who lives in, can't tell you where, on the continent now. He's a multi-millionaire. And he was drinking with him in a pub just up the road here called the Brown Bear. Well, some one of the twins must have seen him in there, either phoned them up or got round to him and said, Georgie Cornell's in the Brown Bear. You know? Oh, because they always had the hump with one another. And what Frankie Fraser said, that they was like mates, he's a liar, because they hated him. And the twins hated him, you know? So anyway, he went down there with the driver, Ronnie. He sent the driver in, he said, see Cornell's in there. And Georgie was in there. He's come out, he said, Georgie Cornell's in there, he's having a drink with so-and-so. Oh, he said, well, go out and tell him someone wants to see him outside. So he's gone and said, George, someone wants to see you outside. It was Ronnie Kray. Now, no one knows, this has never come out. Ronnie Kray's gone down there to stick one on Georgie, but he could have a fight, George. He's knocked Ronnie Kray out, hasn't he? That's where the needle is. No, they're saying about, he did call him a puff. He called him it when we was coming out the Aston one night. But the needle was, when Georgie knocked him out, every time he see Cornell, he was an embarrassment to him, wasn't he? He wasn't so much of the Richardson things, it was a load of balls, like, you know. But that was his embarrassment, because not many people knew that, you know.
What about Frank Mitchell? Do you know much about Frank?
Yeah, old Frank. He was a nice fella. He was a bit slow. He wasn't bad, he was slow, like, you know, but a lovable fella. And we used to stand on the corner of Pedette Road and Barlem Road there, like we was kids. He'd come up, if he wasn't in Borstal, he'd come along and pick you up with one hand, like that. Frank. But a lot of lies went about how this is what gave me the hump when they called him the Mad Axeman, was a load of rubbish. Because Frank would never hurt elderly people and he wouldn't hurt kids. He'd only hurt people that had a guy at him. And what he was doing that day, when he got out of Rampton, he got out of Rampton Mental Institution, he escaped from there, and he couldn't go down the lanes because all the old Bill was going down there, right? So he was going across the fields, and he come across a small holding where, no, when you saw a tree up, got the big, like, he come across this old boy trying to chop the things up with a chopper, you know, a big axe. And Frank's more or less said to him, oh, go on, Pop, you go and have a rest, and that's what he was doing, chopping logs up. The fella's wife was even making him something to eat. But when the old Bill will come across, they see him swinging the axe, chopping the wood, and they made out he threatened the people, and he'd never. He would never do that. He would never do that, Frank, not in a million years. You know, he was so well liked in the East End. Oh, he'd done a lot of bird and that, like, but he'd never harm anyone. Not unless they harmed him. But when they got him out of Dartmoor, they said they got him out to get him a release date with a load of bollocks. They knew that Nipper Reid was on the point of nicking him, and they got him out to kill Nipper Reid. And you can ask Nipper Reid. Nipper Reid had to change when he come out of Tintagel House, he had to change his route every time he went home. He never took the same route home, you know? But that's what they got, and he wouldn't do it. See, people are telling so many lies, you know, they don't know nothing about, you know, and they're making their own things up as they go along. But that's the truth.
Do you think the
and
Krays
I'll tell
killed
you that,
anybody else?
eh?
Do you think the Krays killed anybody else?
I know 7 that killed. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them was my mates. They killed a boy in Columbia Road, Brian Scully. Reggie cut his throat all over a bird. They killed Billy. He was a good thief. They went in to rob a geezer who owned a spill up here called the Green Dragon. Him and another fella, a Jewish fella, they was partners, but they was the biggest buyers of bent Tom in England, they was, like, you know. And the twins knew that they had a load of Tom there. So they wanted my mate to go and screw the geezer's ass and have the gear, like, you know. And I said, you can't do that, he's a good man. I said, Matty, I said, you can't rob Matty. What can I do? I said, we'll have it away and stay out of sight for a couple of months and never forget all about it. No, what did he do? He goes up the club, he's round the clubs in Paddington, the Blue Rose in Paddington. They found out he's in the Blue Rose in Paddington. They sent the geezer in there to see if he's still in there, and he's come out, one of their blokes, he said, yeah, he's in there. He's pissed. They waited outside. He come out, he couldn't hardly stand. He's got his arm on the wall like that. Hold himself up. They've jumped out the car, the twins, and they've fucking done it. They killed him. They carted him away. I don't know what they've done with the body. But I think where all the other bodies went, they was burnt in Billy Exley, who was with the twins right from the beginning, used to come and see me when I was in Nick. And I used to send a visit to someone's house, not his own house, someone's house where he'd get it and he'd come and see me. And Billy said to me, there's all this rubbish going about, the bodies are buried in cemeteries and all this, he said, the flyovers. He said, then bodies were took to South London, and there was an old Polish geezer, had a smelt, you know, used to melt metal, and they put the bodies in the deep freeze, cut them up when they was frozen, no blood, and put them in the smelt, and that's how they went. Well, he said to me when he came to Nick up Wandsworth, he said to me, they've been cremated. Well, I thought they was like in a crematorium, but that's what he meant. They was cremated in these melting pots.
Can you just clarify the four names that you said for the...
Pardon?
Four names for the camera of the people who you said, you know, of the other victims that you said. What was it? You said there was the people who you say that the Krays killed. Billy was one of them. What were the names of the people that you think were the other murders?
Well, I know the Vent boy they done it. I didn't know him,
right.
But my mate was their driver at the time.
Yeah.
And Ronnie had a rent boy in the West End. He took him off the streets and got him a flat, got him in a flat up the West End. He paid for everything. He bought him clothes. Oh, he was good-hearted, Ronnie Kray. He wasn't a greedy person. No, he wasn't. Money didn't worry him. Not like Reggie. But Ronnie he bought him jewellery and everything. But then they're going down to a caravan they had in Steeple Bay in Essex for the weekend. And they're taking the rent boy with them, Ronnie's boy. So as they're going along, Ronnie's got on a gin and tonics. He's half pissed. He started slapping the boy back around the face. Him and Reggie's having a row, because Reggie's sitting in the front, pack it in like you get a sneak knife, you know what I mean? When they got to Steeple Bay, the guy out the car, he's pissing out Ronnie. He's got to grab the boy's run to Reggie. Reggie was just opening the door of the caravan. As they've gone in, the boys run to Reggie. Right? Ronnie's come in, they've had a row, he's got all the boys staying with him. They got the clothes off the bed in there. Got my mate to get the clothes off the bed. They wrapped him up in the bedclothes, put him in the boot of the car. My mate said, I was shitting myself then. He said, I could have got done for murder. Like being involved in a murder. He drove them back to Vallance Road, parked the car around the corner, and they said to him, this is their words again, don't breathe a word of this, you're fucking dead, you'll go with him. And I said, what happened to the body? He said, I don't know then. He said, I went home.
Why didn't Reed never pursue these, these other stories?
Didn't know it. No. A lot of people didn't know about this rent boy. I've never told anyone.
Nipper Reed said 7 as well. That was interesting. You say 7 and he says 7.
Oh, no, that's it. 7.
7 seems to be a familiar number, And
I know they'd done a geezer, his wife, the geezer's wife, I think she worked in Esmeralda's farm, what they had in the West End. I know they'd done her old man in Brighton, but see, they had so many bent old Bill on the firm. Now they're going to get nicked. And that's where they thought they could get away with, they was getting away with murder. And the old Bill was getting, what did they do? They was sacked after Metropolitan Police when they nicked the Krays, didn't they? And they thought they was untouchable. And then Nipper Reed came to see me in the prison. I was in Nick. He said, I've been looking for you 18 months now, so I've been here fucking nearly 2 years. And he said to me, that's when they wanted to shoot my 2 kids. So he says to me, we've been to see the barmaid in the Blind Beggar, and if you do a statement, sign this statement, she'll do it as well, she'll sign. And they said a lot of other people will sign up if you sign up. He said, but we got police officers watching your children 24 hours a day. If you don't sign up, we can't afford to have these. I said, it stands to reason. I said, right, give us it, I'll sign up. And that's how they all start signing up. Yeah.
Talk you all night. Thanks a lot again. That's
what
great.
he said, Martin Bashir.
Good, I could talk you all night.
Done it.
At least not in his face or anything like that.
Is the plants all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Steve Wraith with Jeff Mason outside the Blind Beggar, or 1. Jeff, we're down in East London. Obviously, we had a great day walking around the East End of London with your dad. First memories of your dad. First memories of your dad.
First memories of Dad, I suppose, really was going up from Paddington Station to go and visit him on the first time he was incarcerated at Dartmoor. I was only young, very young child. But, you know, every time I see old films of diesel locomotives, and it always brings me back to the time, you know, of going up that long journey down to Dartmoor to see him. Of course, in them days, there was no physical contact at all. You know, I'd talk to Dad through 3-inch plate glass with wire, you know, and the visits weren't very long. And then we had the arduous journey all the way back to London. You know, that was probably my first early memories of Dad. Of course, when he came out, he was at home only for a couple of years, and then, of course, you know, he got into more trouble and Dad went away. It was very hard, because being at school, you have to try and explain, you know, to the children why your dad's there 1 minute and why he's in your life the next and he's gone again. So, yeah, it was difficult, really, for me, you know. But it's probably made me the character I am, you know. I've had to deal with it, so...
What did you think of your dad? I mean, were you proud of him? You know, I mean, I've never been in that position myself. What do you feel like when your dad's in prison?
Very sad,
yeah.
But at the same time, Dad was a product of the environment at the time when he was growing up, obviously during the war years. I'm not, you know, saying everyone that grew up during the war, you know, was going to turn to crime. But it was just unfortunate enough that Dad was brought into the circumstances, and that was the career, in a way, that followed. You know, it was just a natural path. I think from the first time he got into trouble at the age of 14, and that was it, basically. I've got no animosity about Dad not being in my life. Far from it, you know. I think it was just circumstances, and that was it. And he tried his best when he was at home. Always tried his best. So.
What about your dad's associates? I mean, your dad's knocked around with some pretty high-profile, notorious villains throughout his life, and
yeah.
You know, did you get a chance to meet any of them throughout the course of your life?
Yeah, of course. I was still young then, growing up, but I did go to Vallance Road on several occasions. The only real memories I've got of Vallance Road is sitting in the kitchen with the old man Charlie and having a minor bird as well for company, and the bird just constantly rabbiting on, and Ronnie would constantly turn up with different exotic birds, you know, from the market, like macaws and parrots, you know, and the old man was going mad, you know, he often wondered what he's going to come home with next. That's about the earliest memories, I think, of Dad's associates. As I say, I was still pretty young.
Have you any memories of the unfortunate victims of the Krays, Jack McVitie, George Cornell, and obviously Frank Mitchell? I mean, obviously you were very young, but have you got any memories of any of those?
Yeah, I did meet Jack when we was living at Mill Hill at the time. I believe Jack was going over to Muswell Hill, which was not too far away, and he had an old black Vauxhall Wyvern, and he lent it to Dad for about a week, and Dad used to say to me in the morning before going to school, do you want to fire the car up, you know, warm the motor up? And anyway, he gave me a 10 shilling note. He said, don't tell Mum. Of course, I was the talk of the school, you know. I got a 10 bob note. I was treating everyone. The following morning, he said, can you start the car up again? I said, is there another 10 bob note in it, Dad? He said, don't be cheeky, you know. And then I got to meet Jack McVitie, of course, still didn't know. You know, I knew he was one of Dad's high-profile associates, but he seemed a very, very nice guy for what I remember. You know, and that was it. I know Dad speaks very highly of Jack, so and Dad's no fool when it comes down to friends. So, you know, in my book, I think Jack was probably a very sound guy.
There's one particular incident in your life when your dad came out of prison and you're a musician by trade, and you know, that was one of those situations I'd love to go into. You know, what was it like that particular night? Can you explain the circumstances, etc., and what it was like that night your dad came in?
Yeah, I was quite surprised because I'd always been interested in music, you know, from early days at school. I was in the school choir and the rest of it, and then it was just a natural progression. I just, you know, played guitar, harmonica, formed a band, and then we just got obviously better and better as the years went on. But this particular night we was playing a pub in North London, the Plough in Kingsbury, and Dad just showed up. It was just on the spur, and he had one of the Clark twins, famous for the Royal Variety Show back in the 60s, Steve Clark, I believe it was, and it was brilliant, you know, just seeing Dad and talking to one of the greats, if you like, from the 60s, you know, Steve Clark. He invited us over to Kenya to play for a whole season at the Memory Inn there, sorry, the Holiday Inn. But unfortunately, our drummer couldn't make it, and we couldn't, you know, get another drummer that quick. So, yeah, very sad. You know, I should have done that really, but.
The East End now, we've been around the East End today. I mean, memories of the East End, do you think it's changed for the better or for the worse?
My personal reason?
Personal opinion.
My personal opinion, I think it's changed for the worse. Absolutely, yeah. The real East End, don't forget I come from North London, but obviously I came down here several times, you know, for work and the rest of it, got to know people. I think it has changed for the worse. It's got too cosmopolitan for me. That's my honest opinion. I don't think the real East Ender has been driven out. I mean, obviously it started back in the 60s, and it has got, you know, gradually worse. But that's the way life is. There's change.
Your dad's obviously been released from prison last November. His current sentence, as we all know, was in a fit up. There's no other word for it. Yeah. How do you feel about that? And
I think it was absolutely disgusting what happened. Obviously, he's not the only person to be fitted up, and won't be the last. But if there's any justice in the world, then it will all come out in one way or other, and hopefully he'll get, certainly for that one, his name cleared, because I know Dad, and he certainly doesn't deal with drugs, and I knew it was complete fit up the minute I heard the charge. So I just hope that it all comes out in the wash.
Why do you think they targeted your dad?
Very high profile, basically. My honest opinion is that they probably tried to get him years ago, you know, on probably higher things, and they were clutching at straws. That's my honest opinion. Just the fact he's Eric Mason, he's very high profile.
The Krays are obviously all gone now. You know, how did you feel as a child when the Krays were sentenced? You know, was there any repercussions, you know, throughout your life? Did you have any feelings about the Krays going away? Did your dad speak to you much about the Krays and his involvement with them?
He did. My own reaction really was shock with his sentencing. I think 30 years for the twins. I know you can't excuse murder, but looking back on certainly some of the sentences that they were dishing out at the time for murderers, it certainly wasn't in the 30-year. So yeah, I was quite shocked at, you know, at the sentencing they dished out, especially for the twins. I think on reflection that possibly they should have got the same for some of the other members, say 15 years possibly. Don't forget the two chaps, you know, that were murdered was, you know, that they were living the same lifestyle in a way. I know it doesn't excuse it, but there is the old story, you live by the sword, you know, so... but I did think 30 years was harsh, yeah. Even though Dad did say about Jack that that was wrong, you know, what Reg done to Jack McVitie was definitely wrong, and I totally agree, you know, but Dad obviously knows more than me. As I say, you know, it's just what Dad tells me. So,
as far as the Krays story's concerned, it's a legend that's always going to live on. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that now, you know, the Kray dynasty's gone, that people are still so obsessed with the legend, the story? I feel like, why do you think there's always that interest?
I think there always will be, to be quite honest. We've had heroes like in the past, Dick Turpin, so on. I think the Krays, if you like, compared to the American, like Al Capone, you know, they are the nearest we've got to the American gangsters in a way, you know, and I think there always will be an interest, always. Don't forget they come out from an era when there was a word, respect, and there was that old code of honour. You know, they all lived by a code of honour. Even the police, you know, it was seen as a code of honour between the two. Nowadays, you can't see it in the same. You know, there's no respect no more. There's no code of honour. I think the Kray twins certainly tried to live upon a certain code. I know it did spiral sometimes, you know, out of bounds, but ultimately that was the cause of their downfall.
Brilliant, Jeff.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Cheers, Chris.
Get closer in with the mic.
I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah. Just say your name and your involvement with the Krays, you know, how you got to know the Krays.
Les Martin, I'm age 62. I first met Charlie in 1960.
You just look at me and just talk naturally. Right, you met Charlie in 1960. What was Charlie like, Les?
Charlie was a charming, excellent man, in my opinion. He was like a second dad. I got in a little bit of trouble. My mother kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. I went to Charlie. He got me fixed up with a place up in Clapton. And when I got up there, I was surprised because there was a lot of kids like me, you know, thrown out for no apparent reason, just silly arguments at home. But, you know, he was like a father figure to everyone throughout his life, whether it was later years or the early years. You know, that's why I looked at Charlie.
What about the twins?
I didn't have a lot to do with the twins, really, because I wanted to join the firm. When Tony and Chris Lambiana, because they had their own little thing going, Tony and Chris. Then they joined the firm, and I said to Tony one night, I'd like to join the firm, and Charlie said, you stay out of it. You know, he knew deep down that something was going to come off, you know.
Why did you want to join the firm?
Part of it, I suppose. You know, a little bit of glamour. As you know, they've gone down in history now as Britain's only gangsters. Today's, well, they're not gangsters today. They're just thugs. That's all, in my opinion. You know, they had a code of conduct.
What about the East End, Les? The changes you've seen over the years from the 1960s to present day, is it for the better or for the worse, in your opinion?
Personally, I think it's worse in the East End now. You know, it's the old days. You could leave your back door open. You know, people could walk in. All right, there weren't a lot of things about it. You know, you had your TV, you had your stereogram, but not like today. You got your video recorders, you got your camcorders, you got MP3s. You leave your door open today, they'd nick the bloody lot. You know, simple as that. But I'm glad that I moved out of the East End. I'm really glad.
What about the sentences that the Krays received? Do you think they were too harsh? Do you think they were...
Well, I heard that Ronnie was going to get 40 years. That's what I heard. But when it come down to 30, and years later, when I met up with John Platt Mills QC, who defended Ronnie at the trial, and I used to meet him on a regular basis, and we used to talk about the old days. And I asked him about why did Melford Stevenson give him 30 years? And he said, well, Reggie was only supposed to have got 20. And I asked him why. And he said, well, in Melford Stevenson's autobiography, the famous trials at the Old Bailey that he presided over, he was told by higher-ups that Reggie must receive 30 years.
Higher-ups meaning?
The Attorney General's office, the Home Office. There's a programme that goes out on BBC One I tell everyone to watch. It's called Judge John Deed. The Home Office and the Attorney General's office always telling judges what to do, which they shouldn't do. You know, a judge has been selected to preside over criminal cases, they're the ones that send people to prison. It's not the politicians. The politicians just make the laws in the House of Commons or the House of Lords.
Do you think the Krays killed other victims? Do you think they killed other people?
There's a possibility that they did, yeah. There's a possibility.
As for the victims that they did get convicted of, Jack McVitie, George Cornell, do you have any memories of them? Did you meet them? Did you know them? Did you have any opinion of them?
Well, up in just past the
Jack McVitie.
Jack McVitie, Jack the Act was, he used to go in the ABC, which was a big restaurant here in Whitechapel. He used to go there on Saturday morning, and he used to be shouting out, fuck the Krays and all this and that, you know, sitting there popping pills. But from the feedback that I got back from Charlie, that he'd done him out of some money and he was becoming an out-and-out pest to him. But why they killed him, I just don't make sense. You know, if they had connections with the mafia in America with the Genovese family, well, why didn't they get a couple of the guys from across the pond to, do it for them? You never find a Don going out and killing a bloke. It's always, the soldier's dam. I mean, say Carlo Gambino, he never killed anyone. He never got prosecuted for all the time that he was running the Gambino family in New York.
What about George Cornell?
Well, George Cornell to me, I never met the guy, but what I was told that the shooting over that was because of Dickie Hart, a friend of Ronnie's. Ronnie said to him, where are you going? So I'm going over South London. Went to a night spot over there, Mr. Smith's. The other gang come in looking for the Richardson mob. The guns went off and Dickie Hart got shot. So the following night, Ronnie got to hear about it and walked in the Blind Beggar and bang, that was it.
What about Frank Mitchell?
I don't think they should have topped Frankie Mitchell. I spoke with Freddie Foreman about it, They couldn't be turned into prison because that'd be a sort of grasping, wouldn't it? So the only way out was to have him taken out, And on Charlie's funeral, I saw the sisters on the bridge down Old Ford Road, not Old Ford Road, Roman Road, with placards, They should never have taken him out.
Last part, Les, Charlie Kray. Obviously, Charlie was involved in a major police sting and ultimately given a 12-year sentence, which turned out to be his death sentence. What's your views on that particular operation by the police?
I think it was an out-and-out fit-up. From what I found out, there was a guy in Newcastle who knew a certain bloke in Birmingham. The deal was that they wanted a big fish and Charlie was the big fish. And he was sold down the river. As you know, Steve, I sat throughout that trial, for the whole trial, and there was points of law there which were never even brought up at his 3 appeal hearings, not one. I mean, so one Friday, there was me, another guy and a copper sitting up in the public gallery, and the judge sent the jury out, and he said to Kelsey, Fry and Goldberg that he's going to direct the jury to bring in a bogus verdict on Monday. Charlie phoned me on the Friday night and he said, what do they mean by a bogus verdict? I said, what they're going to do, they're going to find you not guilty on both counts. So I said, you're going to walk on Monday. Even the copper said that. But when it come that you got 12 and an 8, that was it. I was absolutely devastated like a lot of other people, There's Dad being locked up for something he hasn't done. But what we found out is that since that happened, we know where the drugs come from, we know where the money comes from, and the drugs come from the 2 bods up in Newcastle, and the money come from the 2 serious crime squad. So, and it's been back to the Criminal Cases Review Commission twice now.
Does the fight still go on then,
yeah,
to clear Charlie's name?
Yeah. I remember him saying on his deathbed, will you fight to clear my name? And I said, yes, I will, So we've got the right lawyers now, and when it goes back to the Court of Appeal, hopefully we get the right result.
You've been a seasoned campaigner for the Krays. As long as I've known you, you've always been there and thereabouts, and you've done a lot behind the scenes for the Krays.
Yeah.
Is that because you didn't get the chance to join the firm?
I suppose it was in a way, Steve, yeah. As you know, with Reggie, I went places where other people didn't go. I remember I had a meeting with the Lord Chief Justice of England, Lord Taylor. Sadly, he died. He phoned me up one day, or his secretary, and said that he'd like to see me at the High Court. I went up there, and he said this meeting might last only half an hour, and it lasted about an hour and a half. And he asked me the simple question about Reggie. Do you think it's right that politicians should release lifers? And I said no. And he said to me, well, who should release them? I said, well, you send people to prison. I said, it's your job to... I said, all this parole board and all that. I said, it's a waste of time. You know, you've got innocent people in prison who shouldn't be there. You know, Reggie should have been out. I even met Mo Molam. What a lovely lady she was. When the Labour government got elected, I thought that Tony Blair was going to make her the first Home Secretary. And I met her one day, and we was discussing Reggie's case, and she asked Roberta to phone her, but Roberta totally ignored her. And now, if Mo Molam had helped her, Reggie would have been out, rather than coming out on compassionate grounds, you know.
The Krays legacy goes on. Why is that, Les? Why do people still hold a torch for the Krays?
Well, let's put it like this. When their mother died, Violet, when she died in 1982, no one had seen the twins for 13 years. No one. The press were there in 1,000. The media were there. Oh, the Kray twins, as you know, Steve, they weren't allowed down to the graveside, which was totally bang out of order. And it picked up from there, and that's where the hero worship started.
Why do you think there's so many people turned out for the Krays funerals, Les? Was it to pay the respects? Was it curiosity? Was it
curiosity, hero worship, and just for who they were? You know, there was more. Well, Ronnie's was absolutely massive. Gary had a fair-sized funeral. Charlie had a fair-sized funeral, but Reggie's no. Can I say one thing about Gary? A lot of them, Gary Kray, yeah. Step-brothers, I used to call him. When Gary died, well, before Gary died, I was invited up to King's College Hospital where Gary was getting treated for. And I was there with Charlie and Big Ian out of Fulham, massive guy. And all of a sudden this lady consultant appeared on the scene and she said, Mr. Kray, I'd like to talk to you. So I said to Charlie, I'll leave. He went, no, I want you to stay, Les. He said, because what you've been through with your tragedy, I want to... Gary died of cancer of the colon. He never died of AIDS. And this has got to stop, you know. It's been written in the books and it's about time it stopped. You know, poor Gary died of cancer of the colon, you know. And Charlie was absolutely devastated, as you know. I think he started hitting the bottle or something, you know. But I went out to see him one night when Judy was there, and it was not Charlie no more.
Has Reggie got a son?
Reggie's got twins.
We'll never ever meet them.
I don't know. Flanagan's met Sandra. And she is the spitting image of Ronnie. And how it all started, I used to work in the brewery behind that building there, and I worked with a guy called Mickey Steptoe, and he was very friendly with the guy, and he said my sister's up the duff. So I said, when's she expecting? He said, not long. And apparently Reggie went into the hospital and stopped his name from being on the birth certificate. But Flanagan's met the girl, and the boy's called Reggie as well.
Spot on, Les.
Right.
Superb. That takes us nicely into Flanagan. Do you want to drink, quick drinks?
When Charlie got us, arrested over this so-called drug scam, I had a phone call from Reggie one day, and he said, this was after Charlie had got sentenced, and he said to me, who's this bloke who set Charlie up? I went, well, all I know is his name's Peter, comes from Newcastle, don't know the rest, Reg. He said, all right, Les, he said, I'll find out soon, see what I can find out. A couple of days later, he phoned me up, he said, I found him. So we got talking, I said to Reggie, be careful what you're saying. He went, Sodom. He said, I've been in here 33 years now. He said, I want your opinion. I want your opinion. He said, I know you was very, very close to Charlie. What's your opinion? THR, I went. He went, all right, done. So a couple of days later, the geezer was taken out. The geezer was into drugs, pornography, everything. And I spoke to Joey Powell about it, you know, and he said, are there any more around? I went, well, there's quite a few, you know, who had this set-up like, but I think the main one was taken out. And that was it. That was it. But I'll tell you another little story as well. When Charlie was in Parkhurst, Diana, that's his wife, got a telephone call one night and she was in a very distressed state. And I said to her, what's the matter, darling? She said, they won't tell me what's going on about Charlie. So I said, all right, leave it to me. So I shot round my daughters, got on the phone, and I dialed the number, and this screw went, good evening, this is Parkhurst Prison. I said, I know it's Parkhurst. I said, I just dialed the number. So I said, could I speak to someone in charge? So he said, who's it in relation to? I said, my dad, Charlie Kray. So he said, your name? I said, Les Kray. Oh, he said, can you phone back in 5 minutes? I went, yeah, okay. 5 minutes went by. I said, and he came on the phone, he went, yes, can I help you? I said, I want my dad in hospital tonight, not tomorrow, not Monday. Oh, he said, you'll have to phone the governor on Monday. I said, look, I want my dad in hospital tonight. Well, I left my daughters, I got home, I got a telephone call from Diana. Charlie was sitting up in the hospital bed in St Mary's Hospital, but it was too late. It was too late. 2 weeks later, he died. Just through people giving him the wrong medication in Parkhurst Prison, like they did in Franklin. You know, I miss him to bits, I do. I miss him to bits. And I still refer him to Dad. I still say, you know, like when he adopted me back in the 60s, I still call him Dad, you know, and I love him to bits.
Okay.
That was about...
Spot on.
It's you again. I've got my watch back. I'm all happy. I'm all happy now. Okay, go on.
Right, Maureen Flanagan, very close friend of the Kray family. I'm just going to ask you some questions about the Krays and just generally, just from what you see, I'll just lead into different questions.
Okay.
How did you first get to know the Kray family?
I got to know Mrs. Kray first when I became her hairdresser. She preferred it to somebody to come home to the house and do her hair other than sit in hairdressers and keep being asked questions about her boys. But I got to know Mrs. Kray very well. The first one of the brothers I met was Charlie. Charming, lovely Charlie, as we used to call him. And then maybe within a couple of weeks, I met Ronnie and Reggie, who were always, in front of their mother, as I've always said, gentlemen. And in front of any woman, gentlemen, no swearing, no raising of voices, no screaming and shouting. But I became to know how fussy they were with their clothes, because that woman did 6 shirts a day. They went out in the morning at 10 o'clock with one shirt washed and ironed. They came back at 6, changed again, and off they went for their meetings with another one. So she was a good washer and ironer, Mrs. Kray. Lovely lady. I met the 2 aunties, Auntie Rosie, Auntie May.
What were they like?
Well, I always say that Ronnie Kray got his temper from Auntie Rose, definitely. More ferocious, more non-forgiving, and certainly not from Mrs. Kray. They didn't have their temper, they didn't have any part of them from them. Probably a little bit from the old Grandfather Lee, the old boxer, but mostly from the Auntie Rosie. And it was when Auntie Rosie died that Ronnie, you know, that's when he cut his wrist and tried to commit suicide. When Auntie Rosie died, he was very, very close to that particular person.
What was Charlie like, old man Charlie?
Old man Charlie, well, a bit of a, well, I don't want to speak bad of him, but really didn't want to be there, you know. He didn't want to know anything about his boys. He was away from the army, wasn't he? Hiding away from the army, whereas they'd come to find him. shouting and screaming a little bit at the mum, which the twins didn't like. So he tried to keep out of their way. They were more closer to their grandfather than their father. But the person most important in both of the twins' lives was Mrs. Kray, their mum, Violet.
What was an ordinary day like in Vallance Road when you went round there to the Krays house? What was it like? You know, you knocked on the door, you go in. What was it like?
Well, the house was spotless. A little two up, two down as they were in Vallance Road in those days. But she was a lovely lady, always singing, never swearing. Charlie would sometimes be there, but mostly the twins. But they never had breakfast there. That was the funny part about this wonderful mother who washed and ironed and kept this wonderful house. They'd come out of their house, spruce, sparkling, gleaming, and walk up Vallance Road into Polite's, into Bethnal Green Road, where they had their egg and bacon and black pudding. Ronnie Kray always had black pudding. And that's still, you know, that's been there for nearly 200 years, Polite's restaurant. And then it was to meetings, possibly just alongside here in the Grave Morris, was one pub where they met many times and for meetings. And round at the Carpenters, that was their other place for meetings. And then back to their mum about 5 o'clock, wash and change again, and then out again to do, let's call it a bit of skullduggery.
Excellent. The Krays victims, they only ever really appear in the books as mugshots. We hear very little about them. I mean, you'll have bumped into Jack McVitie, you'll have bumped into George Cornell and probably Frank Mitchell as well. Can you give us a little bit about each of the three of them?
Out of the three of them, I would know Jack McVitie best, because he was a regular up at the Regency Club in Amherst Road. And my husband, my first husband, the Flanagan husband, where I get the name from, had the pub directly opposite called the Farley. And the twins, if it was a little bit too early, the twins would go in there and have a drink. And Jack often came to the Farley, and then he'd be over to the Regency. He was on drugs, he was on pills. Not a very nice man to women. And that's, I think, possibly at a very early stage in their association, possibly that's what Ronnie Kray hated about him most. Without anything to do with business or whatever, it was his utter disrespect for women. The screaming, the shouting, the swearing, and, the old story is the old story that is true, that he threw a woman out of a moving car, and, stuck a knife into another woman's part of her body and wiped the knife on his coat, leaving the Regency. So I think he was in a very, very bad way with Ronnie and Reggie Kray. Long before there was any business done, Steve. Long before that.
George Cornell? Anything about George?
George Cornell, I never met George Cornell. I only ever knew he was a South London man. So I'm really a North London girl, having come then to the East London and been many years here. And I met, as I say, I met Mrs. Kray and her family when I was 20.
Yeah. What about the 60s as a whole? For a young girl like you at the time, what was it like? What was the party scene like? And can you describe what it was? An average weekend, like a Friday and a Saturday night. There's binge drinking nowadays. What was your average weekend?
Oh no binge drinking. We weren't allowed to do any binge drinking, Steve. We were and had to be ladies. You went with a boyfriend. I went with my husband at the time. When I was 17, he was 19. You had to be in at 11 o'clock. We'd go to Krays in Seven Sisters Road, that's a dance hall. I'd go over to the Regency, but I would never have walked in the Regency with girls or on my own. Our hair was always done perfectly, our clothes were perfectly, with the tight skirts, high heel shoes, hair piled up like Dusty Springfield, lots of eye makeup. But we had to be good girls. And if my husband would never have married me at the age of 20 had I not been a virgin. So completely different from today, completely. When I see them now, 17, 18, 19, with clothes that are hardly on them and falling down in the gutter, I just think it's against womanhood. They're not ladies, and they can't be ladies, and they never will be ladies, because that's all gone by the by. And that's why we were treated like ladies, because we behaved like them.
Frances, Reggie's wife, what was she like?
I knew Frances from Mrs. Kray's house. I've often done Frances's hair while I put her hair up into a pleat that we had in those days. Shy, retiring. Reggie loved her the minute he saw her. absolute adored and loved her, was determined that she would be his. And then there's the dad, Frankie Shea, you know, her father. He was Reggie's friend at the beginning, and I think it was possibly they approved of the relationship at the beginning. But then, of course, they heard the tales, knew what the twins were into, and maybe didn't want their daughter to be associated with. And there was a lot of animosity when she died. A lot of animosity. You know, Reggie wanted her buried in the wedding dress, with the wedding ring on, with the veil on and everything, and the family said no. There was, there were going to be fights and rows. Ronnie was terribly annoyed that Reggie couldn't have his wish. But apparently, from what I hear, she was buried in the wedding dress, but with her ordinary clothes underneath, for which her mother and father and Reggie Kray never knew that. Never knew that while she was in that coffin. The family told me that, the old Uncle John, Kray Uncle John, and Kimmy and Rita, their cousins, but Reggie Kray told me that. She was buried in a wedding dress, but I knew the truth. And I think, basically, Mrs. Kray knew the truth too.
Towards the back end of Reggie's sentence, while we're talking about his marriage, there was the revelation in the Sunday People about Reg, you know, coming out saying that he was possibly bisexual and that kind of thing. I mean, do you think, knowing them as you did, do you think that possibly we know that Ron was openly gay? Do you think Reg was a closet homosexual and had difficulty coming to terms with it, or you know him better than me on that score? You know, in that day, do you think it was because of the pressure of the '60s? I mean, I don't know.
No, I can't say that Reggie Kray was ever gay for as long as ever I knew him. I even spoke about that to Charlie, and I was very, very close to Charlie. He always called me the sister he never had, and I'd visit both brothers with Charlie Kray for a long time. I loved Charlie Kray, he was a lovely guy. And we always knew about Ronnie. Of course, I knew his associations, I knew the boyfriends, I knew about the Rolex watches, the suits he used to give them, all beautiful young men. But no, I can always say, maybe right till the end, that Reggie Kray wasn't. I would possibly say the last maybe 5 or 6 years, he possibly became bisexual.
Because of his circumstances? Because
of the circumstances, because I don't think he ever saw a light at the end of the tunnel. And we know of 2 young men that shared cells with him. When I used to visit Reggie Kray in Parkhurst, he shared a cell with Steve Tully. Well, I know Steve Tully would have... I'm visiting Steve Tully still to this day. I visited him last week in Aylesbury. He's back in prison again. And I know from him that Reg was not gay when he was in Maidstone. Possibly, I would say, from Maidstone to Wayland, the last years, possibly he was. And as you say, from literally loneliness, I don't know, maybe a need for sex, maybe a need for companionship, and you can